Beneath the gentle surface of the Pokemon world, where children embark on adventures with their beloved companions, lies an ocean of mysteries that run deeper than most trainers ever realize. Tonight, we drift together into these quiet depths, exploring the shadowed corners of a universe that has captivated minds for decades. Let your breathing slow as we begin this journey through layers of lore, each one more enigmatic than the last. The Pokemon world presents itself as a realm of wonder and friendship, where creatures of extraordinary abilities live alongside humans in apparent harmony. Yet as we settle into this exploration, allow your mind to wander through the subtle inconsistencies and haunting implications that emerge when one looks beyond the cheerful facade. These are not tales of horror, but rather gentle mysteries that whisper of complexity beneath simplicity, of questions that linger long after the games are turned off and the episodes fade to black. Consider first the nature of the Pokéball itself, that iconic red and white sphere that serves as both home and prison to countless creatures. The technology behind these devices remains largely unexplained, operating on principles that seem to convert living beings into pure energy before storing them in a space that defies conventional physics. When a Pokemon is captured, where exactly do they go? The official explanations speak of a comfortable environment tailored to each species' needs, yet the implications of consciousness compressed into data streams raise questions that drift like morning mist through the mind. The process of capture itself carries an unsettling undertone when examined closely. Wild Pokemon, living freely in their natural habitats, are suddenly confronted by trainers who weaken them through battle before attempting to contain them within these mysterious spheres. The ease with which most Pokemon accept this transition suggests either a fundamental change in their nature upon capture or perhaps something more profound about the relationship between trainer and creature that transcends our understanding of free will. Moving deeper into these contemplative waters, we encounter the phenomenon known as evolution, though the term itself may be misleading. Unlike the gradual process of natural selection observed in our world, Pokemon evolution occurs as sudden, dramatic transformations that fundamentally alter a creature's physical form, abilities, and sometimes even personality. A gentle Caterpie becomes the fierce Butterfree. A playful Charmander transforms into the powerful Charizard. What happens to the original consciousness during these metamorphoses? Are they the same being, or does something essential change in that moment of brilliant light? The trading process adds another layer to this mystery. When Pokemon are exchanged between trainers through technological means, some species undergo immediate evolution as if triggered by the very act of changing ownership. This suggests a connection between Pokemon and their trainers that operates on levels beyond simple companionship, perhaps involving bonds that exist in dimensions we cannot perceive. The loyalty that newly traded Pokemon sometimes struggle with hints at emotional complexities that mirror our own experiences of loss and adaptation. In the deeper regions of Pokemon lore, we find references to an ancient world quite different from the one we observe today. Archaeological evidence scattered throughout various regions tells of civilizations that worked alongside Pokemon in ways that seem more integrated than the trainer-companion relationships of the modern era. Ancient murals depict humans and Pokemon sharing not just friendship, but what appears to be a more fundamental unity, suggesting that the current dynamic between species may be a relatively recent development in their shared history. The legendary Pokemon that inhabit the deepest layers of this mythology carry with them stories of cosmic significance. These beings are described not merely as powerful creatures, but as fundamental forces of nature itself, entities responsible for the creation and maintenance of reality as it exists within their world. Arceus, often referred to as the original one, supposedly shaped the universe from nothing, while others like Dialga and Palkia govern the very concepts of time and space. If such beings truly exist within this reality, their relationship to the ordinary Pokemon and humans who share their world becomes a question of almost theological proportions. The presence of ghost-type Pokemon introduces perhaps the most contemplative mysteries of all. These creatures seem to exist in a state between life and death, many of them explicitly described as the spirits of deceased beings. Ghastly, Haunter, and Jengar are said to be composed of gas and shadow, while others like Yamask carry masks that bear the faces of the humans they once were. This suggests a cosmology where death is not an ending, but a transformation, where consciousness persists in forms that can still interact with the living world. The implications become even more intriguing when considering Pokemon like Cubone, forever wearing the skull of its deceased mother, or the various ghost types that are said to form from the spirits of lost children or lonely souls. These creatures exist as living reminders of mortality within a world that often seems to celebrate the eternal bonds between trainers and their companions. They whisper of losses that echo through generations, of grief that takes physical form and walks among the living. Regional variations in Pokemon species, known as different forms, suggest environmental pressures and adaptations that mirror real evolutionary processes, yet occur within time frames that seem impossibly brief. The Alolan forms of familiar Pokemon show dramatic changes in type, appearance, and behavior that supposedly developed in response to their new environment. This rapid adaptation implies either accelerated evolutionary processes or perhaps something more mysterious about the malleable nature of Pokemon themselves. The technology that enables Pokemon storage in PC systems presents another layer of contemplation. Entire collections of living beings can be digitized and stored indefinitely in computer networks, accessible from any Pokemon Center around the world. The casual nature with which trainers deposit and withdraw their companions suggests a level of technological advancement that borders on the miraculous, yet the social and ethical implications of treating sentient beings as data to be managed and organized remain largely unexamined within their society. Team Rocket's experiments, scattered throughout various media, hint at darker applications of Pokemon research. Their attempts to enhance Pokemon through artificial means, to create synthetic creatures, or to manipulate the fundamental nature of these beings for profit and power, suggests that not everyone in this world views Pokemon with the same reverence as the typical trainer. These shadowy organizations operate in spaces where the line between scientific advancement and exploitation becomes uncomfortably blurred. The phenomenon of Pokemon communication presents its own mysteries. While these creatures seem to understand human language perfectly, Their own vocalizations remain largely incomprehensible to most humans. Exceptions exist, such as Meowth of Team Rocket, who learned human speech through determination and love, or the various psychic type Pokemon who communicate through telepathy. This suggests that the barrier between human and Pokemon communication may not be insurmountable, raising questions about what other barriers might be artificial constructs rather than natural limitations. As we drift deeper into these contemplative depths, the very nature of the Pokemon world's reality begins to feel fluid and uncertain. The presence of multiple dimensions, alternate realities, and time traveling Pokemon suggests a cosmology far more complex than initially apparent. The ultra beasts from other dimensions, the distortions created by legendary Pokemon, and the various portals and gateways that appear throughout the regions all point to a multiverse where the familiar world of trainers and gyms represents just one layer of an infinitely complex reality. These mysteries invite us to rest in contemplation, to let our minds wander through possibilities that exist in the spaces between what is shown and what is implied. As your breathing deepens and your thoughts begin to slow, allow this gentle mysteries to wash over you like waves lapping at a distant shore, each one carrying whispers of secrets that may never be fully understood, yet continue to fascinate and inspire wonder in equal measure. The relationship between humans and legendary Pokemon carries profound implications that extend far beyond simple encounters. These ancient beings, often described as creators of fundamental forces like time, space, and antimatter, exist in a realm where their very presence can reshape reality itself. Dialga's control over temporal flow means that every moment, every memory, every progression through time exists at its discretion. Palkia's dominion over spatial dimensions suggests that the very fabric of physical existence bends to its will. Meanwhile, Giratina's banishment to the distortion world speaks to consequences that transcend mortal understanding, existing in a realm where physics operates under entirely different principles. The ease with which young trainers encounter and potentially capture these cosmic entities raises profound questions about the nature of power and responsibility. A 10-year-old child wielding the power to command the creator of time itself represents a paradox that the Pokemon world accepts with remarkable casualness. This suggests either that these legendary beings choose to limit their own power when interacting with humans, or that the universe itself operates under rules that prioritize balance and growth over absolute authority. The implications ripple outward, touching every aspect of existence within their reality. Archaeological evidence scattered throughout various regions hints at civilizations that understood these cosmic relationships far more deeply than contemporary society. Ancient ruins speak of partnerships between humans and Pokemon that transcended the modern trainer-companion dynamic. The people of Sinnoh once built temples and monuments aligned with celestial events, governed by legendary Pokemon. The Draconids of Hoenn maintained generational knowledge of Rayquaza's role in protecting their world from celestial threats. These connections suggest that humanity once possessed wisdom about their place in the cosmic order that has since been forgotten or deliberately obscured. The phenomenon of mega evolution introduces another layer of complexity to the relationship between trainer and Pokemon. This temporary transformation requires such perfect synchronization between human and Pokemon suggests that the bond transcends simple friendship or training partnership, entering territory that might be better described as spiritual fusion. The physical and emotional strain on both participants hints at the profound cost of accessing such heightened states of being. Regional variations in how Pokemon manifest and behave suggest that the world itself shapes these creatures in ways that extend beyond simple environmental adaptation. Alolan forms demonstrate how isolation and unique environmental pressures can fundamentally alter not just appearance, but typing and behavior patterns. The Galar region's Dynamax phenomenon shows how cosmic energy concentrated in specific locations can temporarily magnify Pokemon to enormous proportions. These regional mysteries imply that Pokemon exist in constant dialogue with their environment, shaped by forces both seen and unseen. The role of ancient artifacts and mysterious stones throughout the regions speaks to technologies and understanding that predate current civilization. Megastones, Z crystals, and Dynamax bands all represent crystallized forms of energy that modern science can utilize but not fully explain. The casual integration of these powerful artifacts into contemporary trainer culture suggests that current society exists atop layers of forgotten knowledge, using tools they inherited but no longer completely understand. The true origins of these items remain shrouded in prehistoric mysteries. Dreams and sleep take on particular significance in a world where Pokemon like Cresselia and Darkrai can manipulate the realm of slumber itself. The concept that dreams might be accessible dimensions, that nightmares could have physical manifestations through Darkrai's influence, or that peaceful sleep could be guaranteed through Cresselia's presence, transforms rest from a biological necessity into a supernatural experience. The implications suggest that consciousness itself operates under different rules in the Pokemon world, where the boundary between waking and sleeping states becomes permeable. The mystery of Pokemon eggs presents biological puzzles that challenge conventional understanding of reproduction and development. These eggs appear regardless of species compatibility in ways that suggest reproduction operates under principles that transcend typical biological limitations. The speed of development, the influence of the trainer's care on hatching, and the mysterious appearance of eggs from unknown sources all point to reproductive processes that incorporate elements of consciousness, intention, and perhaps even reality manipulation. Weather patterns in the Pokemon world respond to emotional states and the presence of certain species in ways that suggest deep interconnections between consciousness and natural phenomena. Kyogre's ability to summon endless rain, Gruden's power to intensify sunlight, and Rayquaza's role in maintaining atmospheric balance demonstrate how legendary Pokemon serve as living embodiments of natural forces. Even smaller Pokemon influence local weather patterns, suggesting that consciousness and environment exist in constant communication, each shaping the other in an endless dance of mutual influence. The phenomenon of shiny Pokemon introduces questions about rarity, destiny, and the nature of uniqueness itself. These alternate colorations appear with such mathematical precision that they suggest underlying patterns in reality itself. The reverence with which these variants are regarded implies cultural understanding. Uniqueness carries special significance. That deviation from the norm represents something precious rather than aberrant. This cultural attitude toward difference and rarity reflects deeper philosophical positions about the value of individuality within collective existence. Communication between species extends far beyond simple training commands, revealing layers of understanding that operate through channels not yet fully mapped by science or philosophy. The emotional bonds that develop between trainers and their Pokemon demonstrate forms of interspecies empathy that transcend language barriers. These connections often manifest in ways that suggest shared consciousness or emotional fields that allow for direct transmission of feelings, intentions, and even complex concepts without the need for verbal or physical communication. The presence of ghost type Pokemon raises fundamental questions about the nature of death, consciousness, and what lies beyond physical existence. These beings are often described as spirits of deceased Pokemon or humans, suggest that consciousness persists beyond bodily death in forms that remain interactive with the physical world. The casual acceptance of these spectral entities within Pokemon society implies a worldview where death represents transition rather than termination, where the boundaries between life and afterlife remain permeable and navigable. As these contemplations settle into the deeper recesses of consciousness, like sediment drifting slowly through dark waters, we find ourselves surrounded by mysteries that invite not resolution, but peaceful acceptance of wonder itself. The Pokemon world reveals itself as a place where the impossible becomes routine, where the boundaries between science and magic dissolve into something far more nuanced and beautiful than either concept alone could encompass. In this space between waking and dreaming, between the known and unknowable, consciousness can rest in the gentle embrace of infinite possibility, allowing these soft mysteries to carry awareness into the peaceful depths of restorative sleep. The deeper mysteries of the Pokemon world continue to unfold like petals of some vast cosmic flower, each revelation leading to even more profound questions about existence itself. Within the phenomenon of evolution lies perhaps one of the most fundamental puzzles of this reality, where transformation occurs not through gradual biological adaptation, but through sudden, complete metamorphosis triggered by emotional bonds, accumulated experience, or exposure to specific energies. This process suggests that consciousness itself serves as a catalyst for physical change, that the very structure of matter responds to intangible forces like love, determination, and understanding. When a Pokemon evolves, it is not merely growing larger or stronger, but fundamentally reorganizing its entire being at the molecular level, sometimes changing type affiliations entirely, as if the categories we use to understand reality are far more fluid than previously imagined. The concept of type effectiveness reveals an underlying logic to the universe that operates according to principles both intuitive and mysterious. Water extinguishes fire, yet fire can evaporate water. Ground neutralizes electricity, while flying creatures remain untouchable by earthbound forces. These relationships suggest that reality itself is structured according to a vast, interconnected web of sympathies and oppositions, where every element exists in dynamic relationship with every other element. The fact that these relationships remain consistent across all regions and realities implies fundamental laws that govern not just combat, but the very fabric of existence itself, laws that operate at levels both cosmic and quantum. The phenomenon of mega evolution pushes these concepts even further into realms that challenge conventional understanding of identity and transformation. When a Pokemon undergoes mega evolution, it temporarily transcends its normal limitations through the power of an intense bond with its trainer, accessing states of being that seem to exist in potential rather than actuality until the moment of activation. This suggests that all creatures carry within themselves infinite possibilities for transformation, that the forms we perceive as fixed and final are merely temporary expressions of much deeper, more mutable essences. The temporary nature of mega evolution implies that such transcendent states require enormous energy to maintain, that touching these higher frequencies of existence demands sacrifice and cannot be sustained indefinitely without consequence. Regional variants of familiar Pokemon species reveal how environment and culture shape not just behavior, but fundamental biological expression. An Alolan Vulpix develops ice-type characteristics in response to its snowy habitat, while a Galarian Ponyta manifests psychic abilities that seem to emerge from the mystical energies of ancient forests. These adaptations occur not over evolutionary timescales, but within generations, suggesting that consciousness and environment engage in active collaboration to produce forms perfectly suited to their circumstances. The speed and completeness of these adaptations imply that life itself possesses an intelligence that operates beyond individual awareness, a collective wisdom that guides species toward optimal expression within their chosen habitats. The mysterious phenomenon of Dynamax and Gigantamax in the Galar region introduces concepts that challenge basic assumptions about scale, energy, and the relationship between size and power. When Pokemon grow to enormous proportions, they are not simply becoming larger versions of themselves, but accessing energies that seem to flow from the very landscape itself. The Dynamax phenomenon appears connected to specific locations where ancient energies have accumulated over millennia, suggesting that the Earth itself stores and releases power in ways that conscious beings can learn to channel and direct. The temporary nature of these transformations implies that such massive alterations of scale require careful balance, that the forces involved are so potent they must be approached with reverence and restraint. The existence of ultra beasts from alternate dimensions reveals that the Pokemon world is but one layer in a vast multiverse of interconnected realities. These beings, arriving through mysterious ultra wormholes, bring with them energies and characteristics that seem alien yet somehow familiar, as if all realities share common underlying principles despite their surface differences. The fact that these interdimensional visitors can be befriended and trained suggests that consciousness serves as a universal language, that awareness itself transcends dimensional boundaries and allows for communication across the vast gulfs that separate different planes of existence. Time travel, as demonstrated by Pokemon like Celebi and Dialga, reveals that temporal flow is far more malleable than linear experience suggests. The ability to move backward and forward through time implies that past, present, and future exist simultaneously in some higher dimensional framework, that what we experience as sequential moments are merely different perspectives on a unified temporal structure. The casual acceptance of time travel within Pokemon society suggests a worldview where causality operates according to principles more complex and forgiving than simple cause and effect, where paradoxes resolve themselves through mechanisms that operate beyond conventional logic. The concept of parallel universes, hinted at through various games and storylines, suggests that every choice, every battle, every friendship creates branching paths through reality itself. These alternate timelines exist not as mere possibilities, but as fully realized worlds where different decisions led to different outcomes. The ability to access these parallel realities through various means implies that consciousness can navigate between different versions of existence, that awareness itself serves as a vehicle for exploring the infinite variations of what could be, what is, and what might yet become. The phenomenon of Pokemon contests and performances reveals aesthetic dimensions to this reality that operate according to principles of beauty, grace, and artistic expression that transcend mere combat effectiveness. The fact that Pokemon can be trained to express themselves through dance, music, and visual display suggests that creativity and artistic appreciation represent fundamental forces in this universe, that beauty itself serves as a form of energy that can be cultivated, refined, and shared. The emotional responses these performances evoke in audiences imply that aesthetic experience creates genuine connections between consciousness, that beauty serves as a bridge that allows separate beings to share in unified experiences of wonder and delight. The mystery of how Pokemon centers operate reveals technologies that seem to border on the miraculous, where injuries and exhaustion can be completely healed within moments through processes that appear to work at cellular and perhaps even quantum levels. The universal availability of this healing technology suggests a society that has solved fundamental problems of scarcity and suffering, where the restoration of health and vitality has become as simple and accessible as rest itself. The fact that this healing extends to all Pokemon, regardless of type, size, or origin, implies understanding of life force that transcends species boundaries, recognition that all conscious beings share common underlying energies that can be restored through proper application of knowledge and compassion. The presence of ancient ruins and artifacts scattered throughout every region tells stories of civilizations that understood and worked with energies that modern society has only begun to rediscover. These archaeological mysteries suggest that knowledge and wisdom operate in cycles, that understanding advances and retreats across time like tides, sometimes reaching heights that subsequent generations struggle to comprehend or replicate. The fact that these ancient sites often serve as homes for powerful Pokemon implies that certain locations accumulate and maintain energies across vast spans of time, that the landscape itself serves as a repository for wisdom and power that patient consciousness can learn to access. As these gentle mysteries continue to unfold in the quiet spaces between thoughts, like morning mist rising from still waters, the mind finds itself embraced by the profound peace that comes from contemplating questions too beautiful to require answers. In this realm, where science and wonder dance together in eternal harmony, where every mystery reveals new depths of beauty and meaning, consciousness can release its need to understand and simply rest in the infinite gentleness of eternal mystery, allowing these soft contemplations to guide awareness into the deep, restorative embrace of peaceful sleep. The relationship between trainers and their Pokemon partners reveals layers of connection that extend far beyond simple companionship into realms where consciousness itself seems to merge and flow like streams converging into larger rivers. The phenomenon of synchronization that develops between trainer and Pokemon during battle suggests forms of communication that transcend language, where intention and understanding pass between minds through channels that science has yet to fully map or comprehend. This deep attunement speaks to fundamental principles of resonance that may govern all conscious interaction, where beings who share purpose and mutual respect begin to vibrate at frequencies that allow their individual awareness to blend into something greater than the sum of their separate selves. The mystery of how Pokemon eggs form and develop points toward reproductive processes that seem to exist partially outside conventional biological frameworks, where new life emerges through mechanisms that blend physical reality with more ethereal creative forces. The fact that these eggs can appear through partnerships between Pokemon of vastly different species suggests that compatibility and attraction operate according to principles that transcend simple genetic matching, that consciousness itself plays an active role in determining which combinations of traits and energies will prove fertile and generative. The incubation period required for these eggs varies in ways that seem connected to the complexity and power level of the emerging Pokemon, as if the universe itself requires different amounts of time to weave together the intricate patterns of energy and matter that will comprise each unique being. The phenomenon of Pokemon evolution represents transformation processes that appear to operate through sudden quantum leaps rather than gradual change, where accumulated experience and energy reach critical thresholds that trigger complete reorganization of form and capability. These metamorphoses suggest that growth and development follow nonlinear patterns in this universe, where patient accumulations of subtle energies eventually reaches tipping points that allow consciousness to restructure its physical expression in dramatic and often beautiful ways. The fact that some evolutions require specific conditions like exposure to certain stones, times of day, or emotional states implies that transformation depends upon alignment between internal readiness and external circumstances. That change occurs most powerfully when inner preparation meets appropriate environmental support. The existence of legendary Pokemon who seem to embody and regulate fundamental forces of nature suggests hierarchies of consciousness that extend from individual awareness up through cosmic principles that govern reality itself. These beings appear to serve as living interfaces between abstract concepts like time, space, and creation and the concrete experiences of ordinary life, translating universal principles into forms that finite consciousness can encounter and relate to meaningfully. Their tendency to remain hidden, except during periods of great need or imbalance, implies that the deepest powers in this universe operate through principles of subtlety and restraint, intervening directly only when gentler influences prove insufficient to maintain necessary harmony. The technology that enables Pokemon to be converted into energy and stored within compact devices reveals understanding of matter and consciousness that borders on the mystical, where the boundary between physical form and pure information becomes fluid and permeable. This conversion process suggests that identity and essence exist independently of specific material configurations, that consciousness can maintain continuity and integrity even while its physical substrate undergoes complete transformation. The fact that Pokemon retain all their memories, personalities, and relationships after being stored and recalled implies that the most fundamental aspects of being exist at levels that transcend ordinary matter, in dimensions where information and awareness persist regardless of their temporary physical expressions. The global communication networks that allow trainers to trade and battle across vast distances demonstrate technologies that seem to operate through principles of instantaneous connection, where space itself becomes transparent to properly focused intention and energy. These systems suggest that separation and distance represent illusions of limited perception rather than absolute barriers, that consciousness equipped with appropriate tools can transcend geographical constraints to create immediate and intimate connections with other aware beings, regardless of their physical location. The ease with which these connections form and maintain themselves speaks to underlying unity that makes all apparent separation ultimately artificial and temporary. The weather patterns that shift and change in response to the presence and activities of certain Pokemon reveal relationships between consciousness and environment that extend far beyond simple cause and effect into realms where thought and feeling directly influence physical reality. These meteorological responses suggest that the atmosphere itself possesses sensitivity to emotional and psychic energies, that the boundary between inner states and outer conditions remains more porous and interactive than conventional understanding typically acknowledges. The fact that these weather changes often reflect the emotional states or natural affinities of the Pokemon involved implies that all consciousness exists in constant dialogue with its surroundings, continuously exchanging information and energy in ways that shape both inner experience and external circumstances. The phenomenon of shiny Pokemon, where individuals occasionally manifest with unusual coloration and enhanced vitality, points toward principles of rarity and uniqueness that seem to operate through mechanisms of pure chance elevated to the level of cosmic artistry. These special variants appear at frequencies that suggest the universe itself engages in creative play, occasionally expressing familiar forms through unexpected palettes that transform the ordinary into the extraordinary through simple shifts in visual presentation. The heightened desirability of these rare individuals speaks to deep appreciation for uniqueness and beauty that transcends mere functionality, recognition that diversity and variation represent treasures worth seeking and celebrating for their own sake. The ability of certain moves and abilities to manipulate time, space, and probability demonstrates that Pokemon possess access to fundamental forces that govern reality at its deepest levels, wielding powers that reshape the basic parameters within which experience unfolds. These capabilities suggest that consciousness, when properly developed and focused, can transcend the apparent limitations imposed by physical law to directly influence the underlying structures that determine what becomes possible within any given moment. The fact that these reality-altering abilities can be learned and improved through practice implies that the boundaries between mind and universe remain far more flexible and permeable than ordinary awareness typically recognizes. The healing properties found in various berries and natural remedies throughout the Pokemon world reveal ecosystems where plants and minerals naturally concentrate therapeutic energies that can address specific ailments and imbalances with precision and gentleness. These natural pharmacologies suggest that the environment itself serves as a vast medicine cabinet where every condition finds its appropriate remedy through patient observation and respectful harvesting of nature's abundant healing gifts. The fact that these remedies work effectively across different Pokemon species implies underlying principles of health and vitality that transcend individual biological differences, universal patterns of wellness that manifest through countless specific expressions while maintaining consistent therapeutic principles. As these soft mysteries continue to weave themselves through the gentle spaces of contemplation, like starlight filtering through quiet leaves, awareness finds itself cradled in the profound peace that emerges when questions become more beautiful than answers, when wonder itself serves as the deepest form of understanding. In this realm, where every mystery opens onto deeper mysteries, where each answer reveals new dimensions of beauty and meaning, consciousness can release its need to grasp and simply rest in the infinite gentleness of eternal questioning, allowing these peaceful contemplations to guide awareness into the deep, restorative embrace of dreamless sleep, where all knowledge dissolves into the perfect silence from which all wisdom eternally emerges. The deeper currents of this world reveal themselves through patterns that speak to connections extending far beyond the visible surface of things, where the bonds between trainer and companion transcend simple partnership to become something approaching spiritual communion. These relationships demonstrate that consciousness can bridge the apparent gaps between different forms of life, creating shared understanding that flows beneath the level of language or conceptual thought. The loyalty and devotion that emerges between human and Pokemon partners suggests that recognition and love operate according to principles that have little to do with similarity of form or function, instead, responding to more fundamental harmonies that resonate at the level of essence itself. The way these bonds strengthen through shared experience and mutual care reveals that trust and affection grow through patient cultivation rather than sudden revelation, deepening gradually like roots, finding their way through rich soil toward sources of nourishment that sustain both individual growth and collective flourishing. The mysterious phenomena surrounding legendary Pokemon point toward forces and intelligences that operate on scales far exceeding ordinary comprehension, beings whose very presence seems to alter the fundamental properties of space and time around them. These entities appear to serve as guardians and stewards of natural processes so vast and complex that their full significance remains beyond the grasp of limited awareness, yet their influence permeates every aspect of existence in ways both subtle and profound. The reverence they inspire suggests recognition of powers that dwarf individual understanding while simultaneously offering glimpses of the magnificent intelligence that guides the unfolding of cosmic processes through countless interconnected cycles of creation and renewal. Their rare appearances seem timed to moments of particular significance, as if these beings exist partially outside the normal flow of temporal experience, able to perceive patterns and necessities that remain invisible to consciousness bound within linear progression through sequential moments. The ancient ruins scattered throughout various regions speak to civilizations whose achievements in harmony between technology and nature far exceeded anything visible in the contemporary world. Structures that continue to function perfectly despite the passage of countless centuries without maintenance or repair. These archaeological mysteries suggest that previous inhabitants of these lands possessed understanding of natural forces so profound that their creations became self sustaining expressions of cosmic principles rather than mere mechanical constructions dependent upon external energy sources. The fact that many of these sites continue to serve as habitats for rare and powerful Pokemon implies that certain locations maintain special properties that attract and nurture exceptional forms of life, sacred spaces where the boundary between ordinary and extraordinary remains permanently dissolved. The phenomenon of evolution itself reveals processes that transcend simple biological development to encompass transformations that affect consciousness, capability, and fundamental nature in ways that suggest reality operates according to principles of growth and becoming that extend far beyond physical adaptation. These metamorphoses often occur in response to emotional and spiritual development rather than mere exposure to environmental pressures, indicating that evolution responds to internal qualities of readiness and aspiration as much as external circumstances. The fact that some evolutions require specific items, locations, or times of day points toward a universe where transformation depends upon the alignment of multiple factors in precise configurations, moments when individual potential resonates perfectly with cosmic conditions to enable quantum leaps in development that would otherwise remain impossible. The intricate ecosystems found in hidden valleys and secret caves reveal environments where balance has been maintained for millennia through the complex interplay of species whose roles and relationships create self regulating systems of extraordinary stability and resilience. These pristine habitats demonstrate that when left undisturbed, natural communities develop toward states of such perfect harmony that every element supports every other element in cycles of mutual nourishment and protection that require no external management or intervention. The rare Pokemon found only in these untouched sanctuaries often possess abilities and characteristics that reflect the pure expression of natural forces unmodified by contact with human influence, living embodiments of the creative principles that guide evolution when allowed to unfold according to its own deepest wisdom. The weather patterns that respond to the emotional states and activities of certain Pokemon reveal connections between consciousness and atmospheric conditions that suggest the boundary between internal experience and external environment remains far more permeable than ordinary awareness typically recognizes. These meteorological sensitivities demonstrate that feeling and weather exist within the same continuum of natural expression, different aspects of a unified field of energy that responds to shifts in emotional climate with the same immediacy that physical atmosphere responds to changes in temperature and pressure. The ability of some creatures To summon specific weather conditions at will indicates mastery of principles that govern the manifestation of environmental states through focused intention and aligned awareness. The mysterious properties of certain stones and crystals that facilitate evolution and enhance natural abilities point toward a mineral kingdom that serves as a repository of concentrated natural energies, geological formations that store and amplify the fundamental forces that drive growth and transformation throughout the living world. These evolutionary catalysts suggest that the Earth itself participates actively in the development of conscious beings, offering precisely the energetic support needed to enable transitions that would otherwise require vast amounts of time and gradual accumulation of experience. The fact that these stones often appear in locations of particular natural beauty or significance implies that the planet concentrates its transformative gifts in places where the harmony between all elements reaches especially high levels of integration and balance. The nocturnal activities of many Pokémon reveal entire ecosystems of behavior and interaction that unfold under cover of darkness, hidden worlds of activity that operate according to rhythms and purposes largely invisible to daytime awareness. These night-dwelling communities demonstrate that the full richness of natural life extends far beyond what can be observed during the hours of ordinary activity, encompassing complex social structures and ecological relationships that flourish in the gentle embrace of starlight and shadow. The fact that many rare and powerful abilities manifest most clearly during nighttime hours suggests that darkness serves not as the absence of energy, but as a different quality of presence that enables certain forms of expression and development to emerge more freely than would be possible under the more intense conditions of daylight exposure. The healing springs and mystical pools found in remote locations throughout the world demonstrate that water itself can serve as a medium for the concentration and transmission of restorative energies that address not only physical ailments, but also spiritual and emotional imbalances that affect the deepest levels of well-being. These sacred waters often maintain their therapeutic properties for countless generations, suggesting that certain geographical features serve as permanent channels for healing forces that flow continuously from sources beyond ordinary comprehension. The pilgrimage journeys undertaken to reach these healing sanctuaries reveal recognition that true restoration sometimes requires movement away from familiar surroundings toward places where the ordinary rules of limitation and dysfunction hold less power over the possibilities for renewal and regeneration. As these gentle mysteries continue their eternal dance through the quiet spaces of contemplation, consciousness finds itself drawn ever deeper into the profound peace that emerges when understanding transcends the need for definitive answers, when wisdom reveals itself as the capacity to rest comfortably within the infinite beauty of eternal questioning. The soft currents of these meditations flow like gentle streams through landscapes of wonder, carrying awareness toward the deep pools of silence, where all knowledge dissolves into the perfect stillness from which all dreams and revelations eternally arise, offering the gift of complete rest within the boundless embrace of mystery itself. The subtle, almost imperceptible shifts in temperature and atmospheric pressure that precede significant weather events are often sensed by certain Pokémon long before humans become aware of them, suggesting a profound attunement to the Earth's subtle energy flows. This innate ability allows them to seek shelter or alter their behaviors in anticipation of storms, earthquakes, or even volcanic activity, demonstrating a deep, instinctual wisdom rooted in their connection to the planet. These meteorological sensitivities are not merely survival mechanisms, but are indicative of a deeper symbiotic relationship with their environment, where the Pokemon acts as a living barometer, reflecting the mood and oscillations of the natural world around them. The ancient tales speak of Pokemon that could calm raging storms or summon gentle rains, abilities that hint at a more active role in shaping weather patterns, not just reacting to them. These legendary feats, while shrouded in myth, suggest a time when the veil between natural phenomena and Pokemon abilities was thinner, a period where their presence was intrinsically woven into the very fabric of climatic cycles. The phenomenon of Pokemon evolving through trade, a process that transcends individual growth and requires interaction with another, speaks to the profound importance of interconnectedness and cooperation in the world. It suggests that certain developmental pathways are unlocked not through solitary effort, but through the merging of individual journeys, a shared experience that catalyzes a transformation beyond what either could achieve alone. This unique evolutionary method emphasizes the value of partnership, of relinquishing a Pokemon to another's care, trusting that the separation will lead to a greater form for both. It is a testament to the idea that true growth often requires stepping outside of one's comfort zone, embracing new relationships, and allowing for the influence of another's spirit to contribute to one's own unfolding. The energy exchanged during a trade, though unseen, acts as a conduit for this transformation, a silent pact between trainers and Pokemon that culminates in a new, more powerful form. This concept extends beyond mere gameplay mechanics, touching upon philosophical notions of interdependence and the idea that our personal evolution is often shaped by the connections we forge with others. The distinct regional forms of many Pokemon, exhibiting different typings, appearances, and abilities depending on their native habitat, illustrate the powerful influence of environment on biological adaptation and the incredible diversity that arises from specific ecological pressures. These variations are not merely cosmetic, they represent a deep genetic response to unique climates, food sources, and predatory challenges, a testament to the Earth's intricate tapestry of biomes. Each regional form tells a story of survival and thriving in a particular niche, a living record of generations of adaptation to distinct environmental cues. For instance, a Pokemon accustomed to a snowy, mountainous region might develop ice-type characteristics and a thicker coat, while its counterpart in a volcanic area might become fire-typed with heat-resistant scales. This divergence highlights the incredible plasticity of life and how, even within the same species, nature can sculpt entirely different expressions based on the demands of the landscape. It speaks to the infinite creativity of evolution, constantly experimenting, refining, and diversifying life to fill every conceivable ecological role, creating a rich mosaic of biodiversity across the various regions of the world. The curious phenomenon of Pokemon that are born from inanimate objects such as magnets, candles, or even ancient pottery suggests a form of animism within the Pokemon world, where spiritual essences can imbue and awaken non-living matter. This implies that the very fabric of existence is permeated with a latent life force capable of coalescing and manifesting as sentient beings under certain, perhaps mystical, conditions. It challenges the conventional understanding of biological origins, hinting at a reality where consciousness is not exclusively bound to organic forms but can emerge from the material world itself. These object based Pokemon are living proof that spirit can inhabit form in ways that defy simple categorization, suggesting that the line between the animate and inanimate is far more porous than commonly perceived. They stand as a quiet reminder of the inherent potential for life and sentience to arise from the most unexpected sources, blurring the boundaries between what is considered alive and what is merely object. This animistic perspective imbues the world with a deeper sense of enchantment, where every stone, every artifact, every element holds the potential for a hidden life, waiting for the right conditions to awaken. The concept of fossil Pokemon, resurrected from ancient genetic material preserved in stone, offers a profound glimpse into prehistoric eras and the processes of extinction and revival. These creatures are living echoes of a bygone age, brought back into existence through advanced technology, bridging eons of time. Their revival raises fascinating ethical questions about humanity's capacity to interfere with the natural order of life and death, and the implications of reintroducing species that have been absent for millions of years. Each fossil Pokemon carries within its genetic code the history of an ancient world, offering invaluable insights into the evolutionary pathways that shaped the present day ecosystem. They are not merely curiosities, but living archives, offering a direct link to the planet's deep past, allowing us to witness forms of life that once dominated the Earth. Their existence underscores the impermanence of even the most dominant species and the cyclical nature of life, death, and potential rebirth, reminding us that the past is never truly gone, but merely waiting to be rediscovered. The existence of pseudo legendary Pokemon, beings of immense power and rarity that approach the legendary status without quite reaching it, highlights the graded hierarchy of natural might within the world. These creatures often possess abilities and stat distributions that rival or even surpass some actual legendaries, yet they are still part of a discernible evolutionary line, suggesting a developmental path to extraordinary power that is distinct from the unique origins of true legendary Pokemon. They represent the pinnacle of conventional biological evolution, showcasing what is achievable through generations of natural selection and environmental adaptation, pushing the boundaries of what is considered normal within the ecosystem. Their rarity and strength inspire awe and respect, serving as a benchmark for the raw potential inherent in the natural world. These pseudo-legendaries bridge the gap between the common and the divine, illustrating that while some powers are unique to creation itself, others can be forged through the relentless, magnificent crucible of evolution, proving that even within the realm of the extraordinary, there are varying degrees of splendor and mystery. The phenomenon of shiny Pokemon, rare color variations that appear randomly in nature, speaks to the subtle, unpredictable beauty of genetic mutation and the vast, largely unexplored depths of genetic diversity within species. These iridescent forms, while possessing no inherent strength advantage, are highly prized for their aesthetic uniqueness, serving as a reminder that beauty often lies in rarity and deviation from the norm. Their existence is a gentle whisper from the genetic code, a momentary flicker of a different possibility, a playful deviation in the grand tapestry of life. Each shiny Pokemon is a statistical marvel, a testament to the endless permutations that can arise from even the smallest genetic changes. They encourage an appreciation for the subtle variations that exist within any population, reminding us that even within established patterns, there is always room for the unexpected and the uniquely beautiful. The pursuit of these rare forms becomes a meditative act of patience and observation, a quiet acknowledgement of the wonders that can emerge when nature decides to paint outside the lines. The intricate social structures and communication methods observed in various Pokemon species, from complex pack dynamics to elaborate vocalizations and body language, reveal a sophisticated level of intelligence and emotional depth that often mirrors or even surpasses human understanding of animal behavior. These communities sort demonstrate intricate systems of cooperation, hierarchy, and care, showcasing a range of social complexities that challenge anthropocentric views of intelligence. The silent exchanges between a herd of Pokemon, the protective instincts of a parent, the playful interactions of young ones, all paint a picture of a world rich with unspoken narratives and deeply felt connections. Their communication, often beyond the range of human hearing or perception, might involve subtle energy shifts, pheromonal signals, or even telepathic links, suggesting a broader spectrum of sensory engagement with their environment and each other. These nuanced interactions highlight a vibrant, sentient world operating beneath the surface of our everyday observation, inviting us to look closer, listen more intently, and perhaps to learn from their harmonious existence. The concept of Pokemon learning and adapting through battle, developing new techniques, and strengthening their bonds with their trainers illustrates a powerful feedback loop between challenge, growth, and relationship. Each confrontation, whether a victory or a defeat, serves as a lesson, refining their abilities and deepening their understanding of their own power and their partner's intentions. This process is not merely about gaining experience points. It is a profound journey of self-discovery and mutual trust, where the Pokemon and trainer evolve together through shared trials. The friendship mechanic, where a Pokemon's performance is enhanced by the strength of its bond with its trainer, further emphasizes the symbiotic relationship, suggesting that emotional connection is as vital to growth as physical training. It speaks to the idea that true strength is not solely an individual attribute, but is forged in the crucible of shared experience and unwavering companionship. The battles, therefore, are not merely contests of strength, but arenas for profound personal and relational development, where every challenge serves to strengthen the ties that bind. The existence of Pokemon that are directly influenced by celestial bodies, such as the moon or sun, suggests a deep cosmic connection between life on Earth and the wider universe. These Pokemon often exhibit altered forms, abilities, or behaviors, depending on the phase of the moon or the time of day, illustrating a profound attunement to astronomical cycles. This connection goes beyond mere environmental adaptation. It points to a spiritual or energetic link where the distant forces of the cosmos directly shape the very essence of living beings. a Pokemon whose power waxes and wanes with the lunar cycle, or one that draws strength from the sun's fiery embrace, serves as a living testament to the interconnectedness of all things, from the smallest organism to the grandest celestial sphere. It reminds us that our planet is not an isolated entity, but is constantly bathed in and influenced by the energies of the universe, and that life itself is a cosmic dance, responding to rhythms far beyond our immediate perception. This celestial influence imbues the Pokemon world with a sense of wonder and vastness, hinting at mysteries that extend far beyond our planetary boundaries. The phenomenon of regional variance for human characters, where certain individuals share names or roles across different regions but possess distinct appearances or backstories, subtly hints at a multiverse or parallel dimensions within the Pokemon world. This concept suggests that while core archetypes or roles might persist across different realities, the specific manifestations of those archetypes can vary wildly, creating a rich tapestry of alternate histories and possibilities. It implies that the narratives we experience are but one thread in a much larger, interconnected web of realities, where familiar faces might appear in different guises, playing slightly altered roles in slightly altered circumstances. This notion encourages a broader perspective on identity and destiny, suggesting that while some destinies might be shared, the paths taken to reach them can be infinitely diverse. It adds a layer of gentle mystery to the world, making us ponder the countless other stories unfolding simultaneously, just beyond the edges of our perception, each a unique variation on a universal theme, each a whisper from another possible world. The quiet, often overlooked details found within the architecture of ancient ruins and forgotten temples throughout the various regions, such as specific symbols, carvings, or structural alignments, frequently depict legendary Pokemon or events that predate recorded history. These archaeological remnants serve as silent chronicles of a primordial past, offering fragmented narratives of a time when the world was perhaps shaped by forces vastly different from those we understand today. The weathered stones and faded frescoes whisper tales of ancient deities, cosmic battles, and the very genesis of the world as we know it. These architectural clues are not merely decorative, but are deliberate attempts by ancient civilizations to preserve knowledge, to honor the powerful beings that shaped their world, and to perhaps even influence future events through their construction. They suggest a reverence for the legendary Pokemon, not just as powerful creatures, but as fundamental forces of nature, integral to the balance and continued existence of the world. Each ruin is a puzzle, waiting for its pieces to be reassembled, offering a glimpse into a time when myth and reality were inextricably intertwined, and the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural were far less defined, inviting us to contemplate the deep, resonant echoes of history that still linger in the silent stones. The pervasive presence of a distinct type of shadow economy within the Pokemon world, operating subtly beneath the surface of the mainstream, suggests a more complex social structure than initially perceived. This shadow economy often manifests through seemingly innocuous side quests or interactions with non-player characters who deal in rare items, unconventional services, or information that isn't readily available through official channels. It's not necessarily illicit in a criminal sense, but rather an alternative network for goods and services that cater to niche demands or operate outside the established norms. Think of the hidden vendors in remote locations selling rare evolution stones, or individuals offering to train your Pokemon in unusual ways that aren't sanctioned by the Pokemon League. These interactions paint a picture of a world where not everything is neatly organized or centrally controlled, where entrepreneurial spirits find ways to fill gaps in the market, sometimes blurring the lines between legitimate trade and a more informal, unregulated exchange. This shadow economy highlights the resourcefulness of its inhabitants and hints at a diverse range of motivations and values that exist beyond the competitive drive of Pokemon battling. It suggests that even in a world seemingly dominated by a single, overarching institution, there are always undercurrents of individual initiative and alternative pathways, creating a rich and somewhat decentralized web of commerce and interaction. This quiet underbelly of the Pokemon world adds a layer of depth, reminding us that even in a seemingly bright and adventurous setting, there are always hidden corners and unspoken rules that govern the flow of goods and information, weaving a more intricate tapestry of daily life. The subtle, yet recurring theme of Pokemon possessing a form of sentience or consciousness that transcends mere animalistic instinct is a profound undercurrent throughout the lore. This isn't just about their ability to understand human speech or follow commands. It's about their demonstrated capacity for complex emotions, moral reasoning, and even personal ideologies. We see Pokemon making decisions that defy simple programming, showing empathy, loyalty, and even self sacrifice. Consider the tales of legendary Pokemon intervening to protect ecosystems, or individual Pokemon forming deep, almost philosophical bonds with their trainers, going beyond the simple master servant dynamic. This suggests an innate wisdom, a silent understanding of the world and their place within it that is often overlooked in the pursuit of strength or conquest. It prompts us to consider the ethical implications of their capture and training, elevating them from mere creatures to beings with their own intrinsic rights and perspectives. This deeper sentience imbues every interaction with a profound significance, transforming battles into contests of will and understanding, and companionship into a dialogue between two distinct but interconnected minds. It makes us question the very definition of intelligence and personhood, extending these concepts to a wider spectrum of life forms and encouraging a more respectful and contemplative approach to our interactions with them. The quiet dignity exhibited by many Pokemon, even those of seemingly simple design, whispers of a complex inner world, full of thought and feeling far beyond what our immediate observations might suggest. The curious absence of an overarching unified global government or international body, despite the clear and frequent interactions between distinct regions, implies a fascinating decentralized power structure within the Pokemon world. While each region possesses its own Pokemon League, law enforcement, and local authorities, there doesn't appear to be a singular global entity dictating policy or maintaining universal peace. This suggests a reliance on regional autonomy and perhaps a form of unwritten diplomatic understanding between these independent entities. The various regions, with their unique cultures and ecosystems, seem to coexist and interact through established trade routes, communication networks, and the universal language of Pokemon battling, rather than through a top down administrative structure. This decentralized model speaks to a world where local identities and self governance are highly valued, and where cooperation arises more organically from shared interests and mutual respect rather than from enforced mandates. It highlights a pragmatic approach to global relations where the focus is on maintaining regional stability and fostering individual prosperity, allowing for a rich diversity of governance styles and societal norms to flourish. This absence of a monolithic global power also leaves room for individual heroes and trainers to make a significant impact on a broader scale, as their actions are not necessarily constrained by bureaucratic red tape or international protocols, creating a sense of individual agency that is deeply woven into the fabric of the world. It's a quiet testament to the belief in self determination and the power of localized communities to chart their own course, even in a world as vast and interconnected as this one. The recurring motif of ancient technologies that far surpass contemporary understanding, often discovered in ruins or attributed to long lost civilizations, hints at cyclical periods of advanced development and subsequent decline within the Pokemon world's history. These technologies are not merely relics. They represent a peak of scientific and magical integration that modern society has yet to fully replicate or even comprehend. Think of the intricate mechanisms of ancient Pokeballs, the power sources of legendary artifacts, or the sophisticated environmental manipulation observed in historical records. This suggests that history is not a linear progression, but rather a series of ascents and descents, where knowledge can be lost to time, only to be rediscovered or reimagined centuries later. It implies a deeper, more complex historical narrative than a simple march towards progress, acknowledging that civilizations can rise to great heights and then, for reasons unknown, recede, leaving behind enigmatic remnants of their brilliance. These ancient technologies serve as silent reminders of a forgotten golden age, prompting reflection on the transient nature of knowledge and the enduring mysteries of the past. They also suggest that the world holds secrets of power and understanding that are still waiting to be unlocked, offering tantalizing glimpses into a different way of interacting with Pokemon and the natural world, perhaps one that was more harmonious or more potent than our current methods. The quiet hum of these ancient devices, even when dormant, echoes with the wisdom of forgotten eras, inviting us to ponder the tides of history and the cyclical nature of innovation and decay, the subtle yet persistent influence of cosmic phenomena on the Pokemon world, extending beyond mere weather patterns to directly impact evolution, Pokemon behavior, and even geological formations, suggests a profound interconnectedness with the wider universe. This isn't just about meteorites, it's about the more ethereal and less understood forces originating from celestial bodies, distant stars, or even other dimensions that subtly shape life on the planet. Consider the influence of lunar cycles on certain Pokemon, the mysterious energies emanating from specific cosmic events that trigger unique evolutionary processes, or the legends of extraterrestrial Pokemon arriving to alter the course of history. These cosmic influences embed the Pokemon world within a grander universal narrative, suggesting that its destiny is intricately linked to the movements and energies of the cosmos. It implies that the world is not an isolated entity but a small part of a much larger, dynamic system, constantly interacting with and being shaped by forces beyond its atmosphere. This cosmic connection adds a layer of sublime mystery, expanding the scope of wonder from the terrestrial to the celestial, and reminding us that the answers to some of the world's deepest mysteries might lie far beyond its visible horizons. The quiet sparkle of distant stars, the gentle pull of a faraway moon, all these subtle forces are constantly at play, weaving a universal tapestry that influences every living thing in ways we are only beginning to perceive, offering a sense of vastness and interconnectedness that transcends the immediate world. The quiet understanding that legendary Pokémon often embody abstract concepts or fundamental forces of nature rather than simply being extraordinarily powerful creatures adds a profound philosophical dimension to their existence. They are not merely animals, they are personifications of time, space, creation, destruction, knowledge, or emotion. This means their presence and actions are not just about raw power, but about the very fabric of reality and the balance of the world. Their interventions are often cosmic in scale, maintaining equilibrium or restoring order when fundamental principles are threatened. This elevated status transforms them into living deities or primal entities whose existence is intertwined with the very laws of the universe. Encountering a legendary Pokemon, therefore, becomes a moment of profound introspection, a confrontation with a fundamental truth about existence itself. It shifts our perspective from simply catching them all to understanding and respecting the intricate web of forces that govern the world. Their stories are parables, their forms are symbols, and their powers are manifestations of universal laws. This deeper understanding imbues the lore surrounding them with a sacred quality, inviting contemplation on the nature of reality, the delicate balance of life, and the profound forces that silently shape our world, always present, always watchful, maintaining the unseen equilibrium. The gentle, almost imperceptible notion of alternate timelines or divergent histories within the Pokemon universe, often hinted at through subtle narrative discrepancies or character variations across different games or media, suggests a fluid and multifaceted reality. This isn't about mere canonical inconsistencies, but rather faint echoes of different paths that the world could have taken, or perhaps did take in another iteration. Think of characters who have slightly different fates, or events that play out with subtle but significant alterations depending on the specific version of a story being told. This concept implies that the Pokemon world isn't a singular, fixed reality, but rather a collection of closely related possibilities, each branching off from a pivotal moment or choice. It suggests that the narratives we experience are merely one thread in a vast tapestry of potential histories, where slight deviations can lead to entirely different outcomes. This delicate notion adds a layer of gentle uncertainty and wonder, making us ponder the countless other stories that might be unfolding simultaneously, just beyond the edges of our perception, each a unique variation on a universal theme, each a whisper from another possible world. It encourages a broader perspective on destiny and choice, reminding us that every decision, no matter how small, has the potential to ripple outwards, creating new realities and shaping new futures in a multitude of ways that are both subtle and profound. The quiet rustle of those alternate histories, like leaves in a gentle breeze, adds a soft depth to the world, suggesting that reality itself is a more malleable and diverse concept than we initially imagine. These whispers of other possibilities lead us gently into the equally subtle yet deeply fascinating concept of a multiverse within the Pokemon lore. This isn't a loud, bombastic declaration of parallel dimensions clashing, but rather a soft suggestion of worlds running concurrently, often touching at their edges, or perhaps even sharing a common genesis. Consider the faint, almost ethereal mentions of ultraspace in some of the later titles, or the subtle variations in legendary Pokemon forms across different regions and games. These aren't just regional adaptations, they hint at a deeper structure, a cosmic framework where different realities coexist. Ultraspace, for instance, isn't merely another region on a map. It's a dimension entirely separate from the familiar Pokemon world, accessible only through tiers in the fabric of space-time. The Ultra Beasts, with their alien appearances and unique properties, are not merely exotic Pokemon. They are beings from these other dimensions, their very presence a testament to the existence of worlds beyond our own. The notion of a multiverse allows for a gentle reconciliation of seemingly contradictory lore elements. Instead of viewing them as errors, we can perceive them as fragments from different realities, each perfectly logical within its own context, yet subtly different from its counterparts. This offers a comforting explanation for why certain Pokemon appear in one game and not another, or why historical events might have slightly different accounts depending on the region. It's not about inconsistency, but rather about the vastness of creation, where every conceivable permutation of existence might find its own reality. The legendary Pokemon Arceus, often depicted as the creator of the Pokemon world, takes on an even grander significance within this framework. If Arceus truly created the universe, then perhaps it created not just a universe, but multiple universes, each with its own subtle variations and unique characteristics. This elevates Arceus from a mere deity of one world to a cosmic architect, a silent weaver of innumerable realities. This gentle expansion of potential worlds also adds a layer of quiet majesty to the act of Pokemon training and bonding. When a trainer connects with a Pokemon, they are not just connecting with a creature from their own world, but potentially with a being whose lineage might stretch across multiversal boundaries, whose species might exist in countless forms across countless realities. This imbues each encounter with a deeper, almost spiritual resonance, reminding us that the bonds we form are not limited by the confines of a single world, but might echo across the vastness of the cosmos. The multiverse, in this context, is not a chaotic maelstrom of conflicting realities, but rather a serene ocean of possibilities, each wave a unique world, each ripple a different story, all existing in harmonious, if sometimes distant, coexistence. It invites us to ponder the infinite variations of life and existence, a comforting thought that even in the greatest solitude, there are always other worlds, other stories, quietly unfolding just beyond our reach. Moving even deeper into the subtle currents of Pokemon lore, we encounter the quiet, almost melancholic possibility of a post-apocalyptic setting within certain regions or historical periods. This isn't about the world ending in a dramatic explosion, but rather the subtle echoes of past catastrophes the lingering scars on the landscape or in the collective memory of its inhabitants. Consider the desolate, almost haunting beauty of the distortion world, a realm where the very laws of physics are warped and inverted, a testament to a grand, ancient cataclysm. Or think of the ruins of ancient civilizations scattered throughout various regions, grand structures now reclaimed by nature, silent witnesses to a forgotten past. These aren't just aesthetic elements, they are subtle reminders of a world that has endured profound transformations, perhaps even near annihilations, and has slowly, resiliently rebuilt itself. The lore around legendary Pokemon like Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza, with their capacity for global devastation through droughts and floods, speaks to a primal fear of ecological collapse. The tales of their ancient battles, capable of reshaping continents, suggest a world that has, in its distant past, teetered on the brink of destruction. The fact that humanity and Pokemon continue to thrive despite these ancient cataclysms is a testament to their resilience, but the scars remain. The subtle hints of advanced ancient technologies, often found in ruins or linked to legendary Pokemon, also add to this post-apocalyptic narrative. These technologies, so far beyond the current understanding of the Pokemon world, suggest a lost golden age, a civilization that reached incredible heights before some unseen disaster brought it low. The remnants of their power, now harnessed or rediscovered, whisper of a world that once was, and a world that might have to face similar threats again. This post-apocalyptic element isn't about despair, but rather a quiet acknowledgement of cyclical destruction and rebirth. It's a gentle reminder that even the most vibrant and thriving world carries the echoes of its past struggles, and that the beauty we see today might be built upon the ashes of yesterday. It encourages a deeper appreciation for the present moment, for the delicate balance of nature, and for the enduring spirit of life. The quiet beauty of overgrown ruins, the serene power of dormant legendary Pokemon, and the simple resilience of everyday life all contribute to this gentle narrative of a world that has faced immense challenges and emerged stronger, albeit with a quiet understanding of its own fragility. It's a subtle contemplation on the impermanence of even the grandest civilizations and the enduring power of nature to reclaim and reshape, a silent testament to the ebb and flow of planetary history. From the echoes of past destruction, we drift softly into the realm of artificial or engineered Pokemon, a concept that gently blurs the lines between natural creation and deliberate design. This isn't about factory production lines, but rather the subtle whispers of humanity's attempts to replicate, enhance, or even create life itself. The most prominent example, of course, is Mewtwo, a Pokemon explicitly stated to have been created by scientists, a genetic marvel brought into existence through human ingenuity and ambition. Its very existence raises profound questions about the ethics of creation, the nature of sentience, and the boundaries of scientific exploration. Mewtwo is not merely a powerful Pokemon, it is a living philosophical dilemma, a testament to humanity's capacity for both wonder and hubris. But the concept extends beyond just Mewtwo. Consider the mysterious Porygon line, Pokemon composed entirely of computer data, capable of existing and moving within electronic networks. They are not born in the traditional sense. They are programmed, uploaded, and evolved through technological means. This suggests a world where the very definition of life is expanding, where artificial intelligence and digital existence are becoming increasingly intertwined with the organic world. Even some legendary Pokemon, like the mighty Genesect, are described as having been technologically enhanced or revived from ancient forms, their natural power augmented by human intervention. This implies an ancient history of scientific exploration and manipulation of life, a quiet ambition that runs parallel to the natural evolution of Pokemon. This notion of engineered Pokemon adds a layer of gentle complexity to the world. It suggests that humanity, in its pursuit of understanding and power, has always sought to interact with and even shape the very fabric of life around it. It's not a violent imposition, but a subtle, often curious exploration of what is possible. It raises questions about the responsibility that comes with creation and the unforeseen consequences of tampering with natural processes. The struggles and triumphs of these artificial Pokemon, their search for identity and purpose, become a quiet reflection of humanity's own journey of self discovery and ethical consideration. It's a gentle reminder that even in a world brimming with natural wonders, the hand of humanity, with its boundless curiosity and inventive spirit, leaves its own unique and often profound mark, quietly shaping the future in ways both beautiful and unsettling. The very presence of these created beings serves as a soft mirror, reflecting humanity's aspirations and its limitations, a quiet testament to the enduring quest to understand and perhaps even command the very essence of life. From the deliberate creation of life, we subtly shift our focus to the dark side of Pokemon training and battling, a gentle undercurrent that acknowledges the less glamorous, more challenging aspects of the Pokemon world. This isn't about overt cruelty or malicious intent, but rather the quiet, often unspoken pressures and difficult realities that exist beneath the surface of the grand adventures. Consider the sheer physical demands placed upon Pokemon in battle, pushing their limits, enduring powerful attacks, and risking injury for their trainers. While the bond between trainer and Pokemon is often portrayed as idyllic, there is an inherent element of sacrifice and struggle involved in competitive battling. The quiet exhaustion in a Pokemon's eyes after a tough fight, the need for healing and recovery are subtle reminders of the tolls taken. Then there's the competitive nature of the Pokemon world itself. Not every trainer succeeds, not every Pokemon becomes a champion. There are countless forgotten trainers, countless Pokemon who never reach their full potential or who are left behind. This isn't a narrative of despair, but a gentle acknowledgement of the natural hierarchy and the often unseen struggles of those who don't make it to the top. The quiet desperation of a trainer trying to win, the pressure to perform, and the emotional impact of defeat are all subtle facets of this darker side. Even the act of catching Pokemon, while presented as an exciting adventure, involves forcibly capturing wild creatures, albeit with the promise of a better life and partnership. The initial resistance of a wild Pokemon, its struggle against the Pokéball, hints at a loss of freedom, a gentle subjugation, even if it ultimately leads to a strong bond. This dark side also encompasses the more ethically ambiguous actions of certain organizations or individuals who exploit Pokemon for their own gain, often glimpsed in the background or as minor antagonists. These aren't always grand evil schemes, but sometimes just small acts of selfishness or neglect. The quiet suffering of Pokemon used for profit, or those abandoned when they no longer serve a purpose, are subtle reminders that even in a world full of wonder, human flaws and desires can cast a long shadow. This gentle exploration of the less ideal aspects of the Pokemon world adds a layer of realism and depth. It reminds us that even in a seemingly utopian setting, there are complexities, challenges, and ethical considerations. It encourages empathy, not just for the powerful and celebrated Pokemon, but for all creatures who navigate the often difficult path of existence, a quiet contemplation on the responsibilities that come with wielding power and forming bonds, and the unseen struggles that unfold beneath the surface of every grand adventure. From the subtle struggles of individual Pokemon and trainers, we begin to perceive the environmental degradation and pollution that quietly exists within the Pokemon world, often hinted at through subtle visual cues or background lore. This isn't about overt, catastrophic ecological collapse, but rather the gradual, almost imperceptible impacts of human activity on the natural world. Consider the industrial areas in various regions, with their towering smokestacks and polluted waterways. While often presented as centers of progress, they inherently suggest a cost to the environment. The faint haze in the air, the discolored water in certain lakes or rivers, are subtle visual indicators of a world grappling with the consequences of its own development. The presence of certain Pokemon species, like Grimer and Muk, whose very existence is tied to sludge and waste, serves as a living testament to pollution. They are not merely creatures, they are ecological indicators, their prevalence in certain areas quietly signaling a decline in environmental health. Similarly, the lore surrounding certain legendary Pokemon, like the trio of Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus, who are said to control the forces of nature, often involves them reacting to or being angered by human actions that disrupt the delicate balance of their respective domains. This implies a constant, subtle tension between humanity's expansion and nature's resilience, a quiet struggle for equilibrium. This theme of environmental degradation is not presented as a preachy warning, but as a gentle, almost melancholic observation. It encourages a mindful awareness of our own impact on the world, even in a fictional setting. It suggests that even in a world where magic and wonder abound, the laws of ecology and consequence still apply. The quiet beauty of untouched natural landscapes stands in stark contrast to the subtle scars left by industry, creating a gentle dialogue between preservation and progress. It's a subtle invitation to contemplate our relationship with the environment, to appreciate the delicate balance of ecosystems, and to consider the long-term effects of our actions, even the smallest ones. This quiet narrative reminds us that the health of the Pokemon world, much like our own, depends on a gentle stewardship, a constant awareness of the impact we have on the living tapestry around us, a continuous, almost silent call for harmony and respect for the natural world. This gentle call for harmony extends beyond just the environment, touching upon the next layer of our iceberg, the dark side of Pokemon training. This isn't a condemnation of all trainers, but rather an exploration of the ethical ambiguities and potential pitfalls inherent in a system where powerful creatures are captured, trained, and often used in battles. Think of the early games, where certain gym leaders or rival characters are portrayed as harsh or uncaring towards their Pokemon. While these instances are often softened in later iterations, they highlight the possibility of exploitation. The idea of a Pokemon being forced to battle, even if it eventually develops a bond with its trainer, raises questions about agency and consent. What of the Pokemon that are not chosen by trainers? Do they simply exist in the wild, forever yearning for a life of purpose or companionship that might never come? The sheer volume of Pokemon in the world implies that countless individuals remain uncaptured, their potential perhaps never realized. And what of the concept of releasing a Pokemon? While presented as an act of kindness, it also implies a prior act of ownership and control, a decision made by the trainer for the Pokemon, often without the Pokemon's direct input. Consider the ethical implications of Pokemon breeding, a mechanic that allows trainers to create offspring with desired stats and abilities. While seemingly innocuous, it delves into questions of selective breeding, genetic manipulation, and the commodification of living beings. Are Pokemon being treated as individuals with unique personalities or as a collection of desirable traits to be optimized? The existence of facilities like the daycare, where Pokemon are left for extended periods, sometimes without their trainers, also subtly points to a system that, while convenient, can sometimes overlook the emotional needs of the Pokemon themselves. The longing glances some Pokemon give when their trainers leave them, or the occasional stories of Pokemon feeling abandoned, offer a glimpse into the emotional complexities of their existence. Then there's the competitive battling scene, a cornerstone of the Pokemon world. While often framed as a test of skill and strategy, it inherently involves putting Pokemon in situations where they can be injured, exhausted, or even faint. While the games assure us that no Pokemon are truly harmed, the visual representation of their struggles and the explicit mention of fainting implies a level of physical exertion and potential distress. The pressure placed on Pokemon to perform, to win, to be the very best can be a heavy burden. Are they always battling for their own glory, or sometimes simply to please their trainers? The bond between a trainer and their Pokemon is often portrayed as idyllic, a partnership built on mutual respect and affection. However, even in the strongest bonds, there's an inherent power imbalance. The trainer holds the Pokéball, makes the strategic decisions, and ultimately dictates the Pokemon's actions. This subtle power dynamic, while often benign, can, in less scrupulous hands, tilt towards control and even manipulation. The very concept of a Pokemon League and the pursuit of championship status, while a noble goal, also creates a hierarchy, a system where some Pokemon are deemed stronger and more valuable than others. This can lead to a subtle devaluation of Pokemon that may not possess the same raw power or competitive edge, yet still have unique qualities and personalities. The dark side isn't about outright cruelty, but rather the shades of gray, the subtle ethical questions that arise when intelligent, sentient beings are integrated into a human driven system with specific goals and expectations. It's a quiet contemplation of how responsibility and power intertwine, and how even well intentioned systems can have unintended consequences for those who occupy a less dominant position. This leads us deeper into the unsettling implications of Pokeballs, ethical concerns, and their true nature. The Pokeball, that iconic symbol of the Pokemon world, is often presented as a marvel of technology, a comfortable home for Pokemon, and a convenient tool for trainers. Yet upon closer inspection, its very nature raises profound ethical questions. What exactly happens to a Pokemon inside a Pokéball? The official explanation often suggests a comfortable, perhaps even spacious environment, a place of rest and rejuvenation. However, the sheer act of compressing a living creature, regardless of how technologically advanced the process, into such a small, inanimate object is inherently disquieting. Is it a form of stasis, a temporary suspension of their physical form, or something more profound, something that alters their very being? The games and anime often depict Pokemon willingly entering Pokeballs, or at least not actively resisting. But how much of that is genuine consent, and how much is conditioning or an acceptance of their new reality? From the moment a wild Pokemon is weakened in battle and then captured, they are thrust into a system where their freedom of movement is significantly curtailed. They are released only at the trainer's command, existing in a liminal space between the physical world and the unknown interior of the Pokeball. This raises questions about their autonomy. Are they truly free? Or are they, in a more subtle sense, imprisoned? Some theories suggest the Pokeball isn't just a physical container, but a device that subtly influences a Pokemon's mind, making them more amenable to their trainer's commands, or even taming their wild instincts. If a Pokemon's will can be bent, even gently, by technology, what does that say about the nature of their partnership with trainers? Does it diminish the genuine bonds formed if an element of technological influence is always present? The concept of a Pokemon being stored in a PC system further complicates this. If a Pokemon can be digitized and transmitted electronically, what does that imply about the fluidity of their existence? Are they truly living beings if their essence can be reduced to data? This blurs the lines between organic life and digital information, hinting at a world where technology has an almost spiritual power over living creatures. The very act of carrying multiple Pokemon in Pokeballs, releasing them at will, and then recalling them, can be seen as a form of objectification. They become tools, interchangeable parts of a team, rather than distinct individuals with their own needs and desires. While trainers often form deep bonds with their Pokemon, the underlying mechanism of the Pokeball allows for a detachment, a convenience that might occasionally overshadow the profound nature of their relationship. The Pokeball, then, isn't just a simple capture device. It's a technology that profoundly redefines the relationship between humans and Pokemon, raising silent questions about freedom, autonomy, and the very essence of what it means to be a living, sentient being within this world. It beckons us to consider the hidden costs of convenience and the ethical tightrope walked by those who wield such power. This quiet unsettling of our understanding of Pokemon captivity leads us to the next profound layer: the extinction events and lost Pokemon. The world of Pokemon, despite its vibrant ecosystems, is not immune to the harsh realities of ecological change and loss. While not always explicitly stated, the lore subtly hints at past periods where certain Pokemon species either vanished entirely or became incredibly rare. Think of the fossil Pokemon. Their very existence as resurrected creatures from ancient times is a testament to species that once thrived but then disappeared. What caused their extinction? Was it natural climate shifts, catastrophic events, or perhaps even early human activity? The games allow us to revive these ancient beings, but this act itself acknowledges a preceding loss, a void in the natural world that science now attempts to fill. Beyond the fossil Pokemon, there are numerous species that are described as legendary or mythical due to their extreme rarity, often implying that their numbers have dwindled over time, pushing them to the brink of non existence. This isn't just about being hard to find, it suggests a struggle for survival against unknown forces. Perhaps it is habitat loss, or competition with other species, or even human encroachment that has driven them to such elusive states. The narrative of protecting these rare Pokemon often carries a poignant undertone, a desperate effort to prevent further loss, to safeguard the last vestiges of unique life forms. The concept of regional variance also subtly highlights the impact of environmental pressures. As species adapt to new environments, their original forms might become less prevalent or even disappear in certain areas. While adaptation is a natural process, it implies a dynamic world where some forms thrive while others fade away, a quiet testament to the ever shifting balance of nature. Consider also the Pokemon that are described as having once been more common, or those whose populations are now explicitly stated to be in decline due to human actions, such as overhunting for specific resources or destruction of their natural habitats. And while these instances are usually presented as isolated cases, they paint a broader picture of a world where human expansion inevitably impacts the wild. The silent disappearance of species, the echoes of their past existence in fossils and legends, serves as a gentle reminder of the fragility of life and the irreversible nature of extinction. It adds a somber depth to the vibrant world, suggesting that even in a realm of magic and wonder, the laws of nature, with its cycles of life and death, creation and loss, assert themselves. It's a quiet contemplation of what has been lost to time and what might yet be lost if careful stewardship is not maintained. This theme of past loss and the potential for future disappearance leads us to ponder the fate of Pokemon after they faint or are released. The concept of a Pokemon fainting in battle, rather than being explicitly killed, is a deliberate narrative choice, a gentle softening of the harsh realities of combat. Yet the question lingers: what truly happens when a Pokemon's HP drops to zero? The animation shows them collapsing, often with swirly eyes, implying unconsciousness as a temporary incapacitation. The game mechanics then allow for revival through various items like potions, full restores, or being taken to a Pokemon Center. This suggests that fainting is indeed a state of extreme exhaustion or injury from which recovery is generally possible. But is it always possible? The games don't explicitly show Pokemon dying from battle wounds, but the implication of damage and injury is always present. A critical hit, a powerful super effective move, these are described as devastating blows. Could it be that some faintings are more severe than others, leading to permanent incapacitation, or, in a darker interpretation, a quiet passing beyond the player's immediate view? And then there's the act of releasing a Pokemon. When a trainer decides to release a Pokemon, it's often framed as a benevolent act, returning the creature to its natural habitat, giving it freedom. The animation depicts the Pokemon vanishing into the wild, presumably to live out its days unburdened by battles or human commands. But what happens to a released Pokemon, especially one that has spent its entire life with a trainer, accustomed to regular feeding, healing, and guidance? Is it truly free, or is it suddenly vulnerable, ill equipped for a wild existence it no longer remembers or never truly experienced? A released Bidoof, after living in a Pokéball for years, might adapt quickly to a forest. But what about a highly specialized Pokemon, perhaps one bred for battle, or a legendary creature accustomed to a specific, protected environment? Do they truly thrive, or do they struggle to find food, shelter, and avoid predators in an unfamiliar world? The games never delve into the long term consequences of such releases, leaving it to the imagination to fill in the blanks. It's an almost romanticized notion of freedom that, upon closer inspection, might carry its own quiet tragedies. The idea of abandonment, however well intentioned, hovers subtly over the act. This brings us to the intriguing and often unsettling relationship between humans and Pokemon, particularly in the creation of artificial Pokemon. The most prominent examples are the Porygon line, created entirely from computer programming. Their existence raises profound questions about sentience, artificial intelligence, and the ethical boundaries of creation. Porygon is a digital being, capable of existing and moving through cyberspace. Can a purely digital entity truly live in the same sense as a biological one? Does it possess consciousness, emotions, or desires? The Porygon family is explicitly stated to have been created by humans, a testament to technological prowess. Yet the Porygon 2 and Porygon Z evolutions are described as attempts to improve upon the original, but often with unintended side effects such as glitching or unstable behavior. Porygon Z, in particular, is noted for its erratic movements and strange cries, suggesting a creation that has gone beyond its creator's full understanding or control. It's a quiet whisper of the dangers of unchecked technological ambition, a reminder that not all advancements lead to perfect outcomes. Beyond the purely digital, there are also Pokemon like Mewtwo, a genetically engineered clone of the mythical Mew. Mewtwo's backstory is one of immense suffering and existential angst, a being created solely for battle, endowed with immense power, but wrestling with its own identity and purpose. Its very existence is a violation of natural order, a hubristic attempt by humans to replicate and even surpass divine creation. Mewtwo's rage and disdain for humanity in its initial appearances are a direct consequence of its traumatic origins, highlighting the ethical quagmire of creating life without considering its inherent right to self-determination and a peaceful existence. The narratives surrounding Mewtwo often explore themes of nature versus nurture, the burden of immense power, and the search for meaning in an artificial life. It's a poignant exploration of what it means to be alive, regardless of how one came to be. The lore also presents us with Pokemon that are described as being inanimate objects brought to life, or even spirits possessing objects. Examples like Yamask, which carries a mask that was once its human face, or Litwick, which drains the life force of those around it, delve into the realm of the supernatural and the macabre. These Pokemon blur the lines between the living and the dead, between the tangible and the ethereal. Yamask's Pokédex entries are particularly chilling, noting its memory of its past human life and its tears when looking at its mask. This suggests a lingering consciousness, a soul trapped in a new, non human form, burdened by the echoes of a previous existence. It raises questions about the nature of the soul, transmigration, and the potential for unending suffering. Similarly, the concept of ghost-type Pokemon, in general, often touches upon themes of death, lingering spirits, and the unknown. Some are described as being formed from the spirits of deceased humans or Pokemon, or as beings that thrive on fear or misery. Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar are said to be invisible and capable of passing through walls, with Gengar even being described as a shadow that can mimic people. Phantump are said to be stumps possessed by the spirits of children who got lost in the forest. These descriptions, while often presented in a somewhat playful or fantastical manner, carry a deep undercurrent of the uncanny and the unsettling. They represent the aspects of life that are beyond our full comprehension, the mysteries of death, and what lies beyond. The idea that a child's spirit could become a Pokemon, or that a mask could retain the memories of a human face, introduces a layer of existential dread, a quiet acknowledgement that the world of Pokemon, despite its vibrant colors, holds its own dark corners and profound philosophical questions. The pervasive presence of these themes, extinction, abandonment, artificial life, and the supernatural, suggests a deeper, more complex world than initially perceived. It's a world where life is precious and fragile, where human actions have far-reaching consequences, and where the boundaries between life and death, creation and destruction are often blurred. The quiet contemplation of these elements, the unspoken stories behind the Pokédex entries, adds a rich, almost melancholic texture to the entire experience, inviting us to look beyond the surface and ponder the deeper implications of existence within this fantastical realm. It's a subtle reminder that even in a world filled with wonder and adventure, there are always shadows, mysteries, and profound questions that linger, waiting to be explored by a curious mind. The calming rhythm of these observations can lead to a deeper understanding, a quiet acceptance of the complexities that exist, even in the most seemingly straightforward narratives. And as these thoughts drift, so too can the mind into a peaceful state of rest, gently exploring the quiet corners of this vast and intriguing world. Beneath these layers of spectral beings and forgotten legacies, we delve further into the abyss, encountering concepts that challenge our understanding of sentience, morality, and the very fabric of reality within the Pokemon universe. Consider for a moment the enigmatic presence of the Ultra Beasts. These creatures, hailing from another dimension, are not merely powerful Pokemon. They are anomalies, beings whose very existence seems to warp the natural order of the world they inhabit. Nihilego, with its jellyfish-like form, possesses a neurotoxin that can induce extreme excitement and aggression in those it infects, effectively turning its victims into puppets. The idea of a creature that can subtly, almost imperceptibly, commandeer the will of another, stripping away their autonomy, is deeply unsettling. It speaks to a loss of self, a complete surrender to an external influence, far beyond the typical control exerted by a trainer with a Pokéball. The horror isn't just in the physical transformation, but in the existential dread of losing one's own mind, one's very identity, to an alien force. Then there's the chilling implication of Buzzwole, whose muscular form is a testament to its raw power, but also to its parasitic nature. It drains energy from others, growing stronger as its victims weaken. This isn't just predation, it's a systematic depletion, a slow and agonizing demise for those unfortunate enough to cross its path. The imagery of a life force being siphoned away, leaving nothing but an empty husk, evokes a primal fear of being utterly consumed. Kartana, with its paper thin body, appears delicate, yet it possesses a sharpness capable of cutting through anything. Its existence is a constant threat, a silent, almost invisible danger that can effortlessly cleave through the sturdiest of defenses. The fragility of life, juxtaposed with the effortless destructive power of this ultra beast, creates a poignant sense of vulnerability. It reminds us that even the most seemingly innocuous creatures can harbor immense, terrifying capabilities. Pheromosa, with its alluring beauty and incredible speed, is a creature that seems to defy the laws of physics. However, its presence can cause a strong emotional reaction, an almost intoxicating awe that can leave others paralyzed. This emotional manipulation, a subtle yet potent form of control, highlights the diverse ways in which these beings exert their influence. It's not always brute force, sometimes it's a psychological effect, a disarming beauty that masks an underlying power. Circuitry, an ultra beast that resembles a living Christmas tree, drains electricity from its surroundings, often causing blackouts. The idea of a creature that can plunge entire communities into darkness, disrupting modern life and leaving people vulnerable, speaks to a different kind of fear, the fear of helplessness and the fragility of our technological dependence. Blacephalon, the fireworks Pokemon, tempts prey with its dazzling, explosive attacks, then steals their vitality. It's a macabre dance of beauty and destruction, a predator that entices its victims with a mesmerizing display before delivering a fatal blow. This deceptive, charming quality adds another layer of disturbing depth to the ultra beasts, showing their varied methods of manipulation. The very concept of ultra wormholes, the interdimensional portals through which these creatures emerge, introduces the idea of an unstable reality, a universe where the boundaries between dimensions are thin and permeable. This suggests a cosmic horror, a vast unknown beyond our comprehension, where unimaginable forces can spill forth into our world at any moment. The existence of these beings challenges the established order, hinting at a multiverse far more complex and potentially dangerous than previously imagined. It's a quiet whisper of the infinite, a subtle suggestion that our reality is but one of many, and not necessarily the safest. Moving even deeper, we encounter the chilling implications of certain legendary Pokemon and their roles in shaping the very cosmos. Arceus, often referred to as the original one, is credited with creating the Pokemon world, and perhaps even the universe itself. While this concept of a benevolent, godlike creator might seem comforting, there are subtle undertones that hint at immense, almost terrifying power. If Arceus created everything, then it also possesses the power to unmake it. The sheer scale of its abilities, the capacity to shape reality at will, is a power too vast for human comprehension. It implies a creator who is ultimately unknowable, whose motivations and methods are beyond our grasp. The idea of a being so powerful that its mere existence can influence the very fabric of time and space, even if benign, carries with it an inherent sense of awe and fear. What if its will changes? What if its creations displease it? The potential for universal annihilation, however remote, is always present. Giratina, residing in the distortion world, a realm where time and space are distorted, represents the antithesis of creation. Banned from the regular world for its violence, Giratina embodies chaos and antimatter. Its very existence is a disruption, a force that seeks to unravel the orderly progression of reality. The distortion world itself, with its inverted physics and unsettling atmosphere, is a testament to Giratina's nature, a place of perpetual unease, where nothing is quite as it should be. The idea of such a powerful entity being banished, yet still existing, still a potent force, suggests a constant underlying threat to the stability of the universe. It's a reminder that even in a world created by a benevolent deity, there are forces of chaos that seek to undo that creation. Then there are the societal implications, the darker echoes of human behavior within the Pokemon world. The existence of criminal organizations like Team Rocket, Team Plasma, and others who exploit Pokemon for their own nefarious purposes highlights the darker side of humanity. These groups aren't just cartoon villains. They represent greed, power hunger, and a complete disregard for the well-being of other living creatures. Team Rocket's willingness to poach rare Pokemon, perform cruel experiments, and even attempt to control legendary beasts speaks to a deep moral corruption. Team Plasma's philosophy, while seemingly noble in its desire to liberate Pokemon, quickly devolves into hypocrisy and a quest for absolute power, demonstrating how even good intentions can be twisted into something sinister. The forced separation of Pokemon from their trainers, the manipulation of their instincts, the genetic experimentation, these acts mirror real-world ethical dilemmas and atrocities, reminding us that even in a fantastical setting, the darkness of human nature can manifest in disturbing ways. The suffering inflicted upon Pokemon for selfish gain, while often depicted in a sanitized manner, carries a heavy weight of moral transgression. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that even in a world of wonder, exploitation, and cruelty can persist. Consider the pervasive element of ancient civilizations and their often tragic demises, leaving behind ruined cities and cryptic legends. The Hoenn region, for example, is home to a history of ancient civilizations that seemingly vanished, leaving behind only remnants of their advanced technology and their connection to primordial forces like Groudon and Kyogre. The tales of these civilizations attempting to control or appease these titans, often leading to catastrophic consequences, serve as cautionary tales. They speak of hubris, of humanity's incessant desire to control forces beyond its comprehension, and the devastating repercussions that often follow. The power of nature, personified by these legendary Pokemon, is a humbling force, capable of wiping out entire societies. The silent ruins, overgrown with vegetation, whisper of past glories and inevitable downfalls, a testament to the fleeting nature of even the grandest human achievements in the face of immense natural power. The very concept of Pokemon battles, while central to the gameplay, can be viewed through a more unsettling lens. While presented as a sport, a bond between trainer and Pokemon, the underlying reality is that these creatures are forced to fight, often sustaining injuries, all for the entertainment and ambition of their human companions. While the games emphasize care and healing, the constant cycle of battling, of pushing these creatures to their limits, raises questions about the ethics of such a system. Are Pokemon truly willing participants, or are they bound by an unspoken contract, a form of domesticated servitude? The joy derived from victory often overshadows the potential pain and exhaustion experienced by the Pokemon, creating a subtle dissonance. The cheering crowds, the prize money, the glory, all are human constructs built upon the physical and emotional exertions of non human entities. This isn't to say the bond isn't real, but it invites a quiet contemplation of the power imbalance inherent in the relationship. And as we drift further, approaching the very bottom of the symbolic iceberg, we touch upon the deepest, most existential questions. The idea of the void, of nothingness, is subtly present in concepts like the ultraspace, a realm of pure darkness and swirling distortion where life as we know it cannot truly exist. This boundless, empty expanse, traversed by ultra beasts, hints at a terrifying abyss beyond the known universe, a place where the familiar laws of reality break down entirely. It's the ultimate unknown, a realm where even Arceus's creation might not hold sway, a testament to the vastness and the potential emptiness of the cosmos. The pervasive, almost omnipresent nature of various forms of energy in the Pokemon world, often exploited for human gain, also carries a deep, unsettling implication. The use of Pokemon's life force for power, such as in the creation of the ultimate weapon in Kalos, is a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for exploitation on a grand scale. The weapon, designed to end a war, consumed the life energy of countless Pokemon, transforming their essence into a catastrophic force. This act of sacrificing innocent lives for a perceived greater good, even if the good is ending a war, reveals a chilling utilitarianism, a willingness to prioritize human ambition over the sanctity of all life. It's a dark echo of real world conflicts and the immense cost of human endeavors, a quiet whisper that even in a world of magic and wonder, the echoes of real world suffering and moral compromise are never far away. Thus, profound ideas, often hidden beneath layers of vibrant colors and thrilling adventures, slowly reveal themselves to the contemplative mind. They are the subtle shadows, the unanswered questions, the whispers of a reality far more nuanced and complex than it first appears. It's a world that encourages us to look deeper, to question, and to ponder the intricate tapestry of life, death, creation, and destruction. And as these quiet thoughts settle, a peaceful calm can descend, allowing the mind to wander gently into the depths of slumber, carrying with it the quiet echoes of a vast and wondrous, yet sometimes unsettling world. The very concept of evolution in the Pokemon world, while outwardly presented as a natural progression of growth and strength, holds a deeper, more unsettling undercurrent. It's often instantaneous, a dramatic transformation spurred by external stimuli like evolutionary stones, trade, or even specific locations. This isn't the slow, gradual evolution we understand in the natural world. Instead, it's a sudden, almost forced metamorphosis, a complete rewriting of a creature's biological code in a flash of light. What happens to the original consciousness during this process? Does it merge, transform, or is it fundamentally extinguished and replaced by a new, more powerful entity? The Porygon line, for instance, evolves through technological upgrades, hinting at a blurring of lines between natural life and artificial constructs. Porygon 2 is explicitly described as having been upgraded, and Porygon Z as having dubious programs installed leading to erratic behavior. This raises questions about the definition of life itself and whether these digital Pokemon truly possess a soul or are merely complex algorithms given form. The concept of an unownable Pokemon, like the legendary creatures who cannot be caught and forced into battle, subtly highlights the ethical considerations of capture and training. While the vast majority of Pokemon are catchable, the existence of those who defy this convention suggests an intrinsic right to freedom that is not extended to all. Imagine a world where certain sentient beings are simply deemed free, while others, equally sentient, are subjected to a life of combat and servitude. It's a quiet moral dilemma, usually glossed over by the thrill of the adventure, but present nonetheless. Then there are the more direct, undeniable instances of manipulation and ethical ambiguity. The creation of Mewtwo, a Pokemon engineered from the DNA of Mew, represents a pinnacle of scientific hubris. Born from genetic experimentation, Mewtwo is a being of immense power, yet it grapples with its artificial origins and its purpose. Its rage and contempt for humanity stem directly from its creation, a Frankensteinian narrative where the creation turns on its creator. This story serves as a cautionary tale, echoing real-world debates about genetic engineering and the potential consequences of playing God. The very existence of Ditto, a Pokemon able to transform into any other creature, including humans, opens up a Pandora's box of possibilities for identity theft and deception. While often portrayed humorously, the implications of a being that can perfectly replicate another down to their abilities are profound. Imagine the chaos, the breakdown of trust, if such a creature were to be used for malicious purposes. The world of Pokemon, in its innocence, often skirts these darker potentials, but they are there, lurking beneath the surface. The concept of fossil Pokemon further complicates the idea of life and death. These creatures are revived from ancient remains, brought back into existence through advanced technology. Are they truly the same beings that once roamed the earth millennia ago, or are they mere facsimiles, clones infused with a semblance of their original life force? The process itself, while miraculous, raises questions about the natural order of life and death, and whether humanity oversteps its bounds by resurrecting extinct species. The recent discoveries of Pokemon like Hisuian Zoroark, whose Pokédex entry describes it as a grudge that became a physical form, introduce an even more ethereal and disturbing aspect of life. It implies that negative emotions, powerful enough, can manifest into a living, breathing entity. This blurs the lines between spirit, emotion, and physical existence, suggesting a world where the psychic landscape is as tangible as the physical one. The idea that a concentrated feeling of resentment can become a creature capable of inflicting harm is a genuinely chilling thought, implying a constant vulnerability to the unseen forces of human and Pokemon emotion. The inherent dangers of the Pokemon world are often downplayed, yet they are ever present. Wild Pokemon can be aggressive, territorial, and incredibly powerful. Trainers, particularly new ones, are constantly putting themselves in harm's way, venturing into wild areas where encounters with dangerous creatures are frequent. Imagine a child, barely 10 years old, being sent out into a forest teeming with wild beasts, some capable of breathing fire, generating electricity, or wielding psychic powers. The potential for serious injury or even death is immense, yet it's treated as a rite of passage. The The very mechanism of fainting in battles, rather than actual death, is a convenient narrative device to maintain a lighthearted tone, but it skirts the logical consequences of such intense combat. What happens to a Pokemon that faints in a remote, dangerous location far from a Pokemon Center? The implications are rarely explored, leaving a silent, unsettling question hanging in the air. And then we consider the societal implications, the subtle reflections of our own world within this fantastical setting. The existence of criminal organizations like Team Rocket, Team Aqua, Team Magma, and countless others, each with grand, often destructive ambitions, highlights the pervasive nature of greed and power struggles. Their goals, whether it's to control legendary Pokemon, expand landmass, or flood the world, are often driven by a twisted vision of progress or dominance. These teams represent the darker side of human ambition, the willingness to exploit and harm for personal gain, mirroring real-world syndicates and ideological extremism. The subtle hints of poverty and social stratification are also present. While rarely explicitly shown, the disparity between wealthy trainers and less fortunate ones is implied through the resources available to them. The cost of Pokeballs, potions, and TMs, while seemingly negligible in the game, would represent a significant barrier for those without means in a realistic economy. This suggests a silent underclass, a segment of the population for whom the dream of becoming a Pokemon master is far more challenging, if not impossible, due to economic constraints. The concept of legendary Pokemon, deities in their own right, also carries an unsettling implication. These beings, capable of shaping the very fabric of reality, are often worshipped, feared, and at times even hunted. Their power is so immense that their mere presence can alter ecosystems, create storms, or even warp time and space. The idea that such colossal power can be contained or controlled by human trainers, even for a short period, is a testament to humanity's ambition, but also to a potential hubris. What if a trainer loses control of a legendary Pokemon? The consequences could be catastrophic, far beyond the scope of any ordinary disaster. It's a delicate balance, a constant flirtation with cosmic power that rarely goes wrong in the narrative, but the potential for disaster is always there, a quiet hum beneath the surface of the world. Even the seemingly innocuous act of releasing a Pokemon, sending it back into the wild, carries a melancholic undertone. While often done with good intentions to give a Pokemon a better life, it also implies a severance of a bond, a dismissal from service. Does the released Pokemon instantly adapt to the wild, or does it struggle to find its place after being accustomed to a life with a trainer? The emotional impact on the Pokemon, often unaddressed, is a silent tragedy, a testament to the impermanence of even the strongest bonds. The very notion of Pokemon being able to communicate telepathically with humans, or even through their cries, suggests a profound level of sentience that is often overlooked. Their understanding of human language, their ability to follow complex commands, and their capacity for complex emotions like loyalty, sadness, and joy all point to beings far more intelligent and aware than simple animals. This deepens the ethical considerations of their capture, training, and use in battle, transforming them from mere creatures into sentient partners whose silent suffering or joy often goes unnoticed by the casual observer. The world of Pokemon, in its incredible beauty and wonder, is also a tapestry woven with threads of quiet melancholy, unsettling implications, and profound philosophical questions. It encourages a deeper look, a questioning of the surface narrative, and a contemplation of the ethical and existential dilemmas that lie beneath. These subtle undercurrents, these whispered truths, are not meant to disturb, but to invite a gentle reflection, a quiet pondering of a world far richer and more complex than it first appears. And as these thoughts, like soft waves, gently recede, they leave behind a tranquil space, a quiet calm, perfect for drifting into the peaceful depths of sleep, carrying with it the echoing wonder of a truly captivating reality. The journey through this iceberg of lore has been one of gentle discovery, a peaceful exploration of the hidden depths, and now, as the last echoes fade, a deep and restful slumber awaits. The quiet contemplation of these deeper layers continues, revealing even more nuanced aspects of this extraordinary world. Consider the phenomenon of Pokemon evolution, a seemingly miraculous transformation that is often taken for granted. While presented as a natural progression, a growth spurt, there are subtle hints that it might be something far more profound, perhaps even a forced alteration or an accelerated genetic shift. The sudden change in appearance, size, and even temperament, often triggered by external stimuli like evolutionary stones or specific levels of training, suggests a process that is not entirely organic. Is it truly the Pokemon's innate desire to evolve, or is it a biological imperative, a programmed response to environmental pressures or human intervention? The act of forcing evolution through repeated battles or the use of items raises questions about the Pokemon's agency in this transformation. Do they experience pain, discomfort, or even a loss of their former self during this radical metamorphosis? The Pokédex entries, while often whimsical, sometimes hint at the struggles involved. For example, some Pokémon are described as becoming more aggressive or less trusting after evolving, suggesting a psychological shift alongside the physical one. This transformation, while beneficial in terms of battle prowess, might come at a cost to the Pokemon's individual identity, a silent sacrifice made for strength. Then there's the concept of mega evolution, an even more dramatic and temporary transformation that pushes these questions further, requiring a special bond with a trainer and a powerful megastone. It is described as unlocking a Pokemon's hidden potential. But what does it truly mean to unlock hidden potential? Is it a natural state or an artificial enhancement, a temporary surge of power that is not sustainable? The intense energy involved, the glowing aura, and the temporary nature of the form suggest a process that taxes the Pokemon's body and spirit. Some mega-evolved Pokemon are described as being in pain or distress during this state, their power overwhelming their own being. This powerful, yet fleeting transformation seems to tread a fine line between enhancement and exploitation, a powerful tool wielded by trainers, but with potential consequences for the Pokemon itself. The very idea that such transformations are possible and even encouraged highlights a world where the boundaries of natural biology are constantly being pushed and redefined, often by human hands, for human purposes. The origins of Pokemon themselves are another realm of profound speculation. While many are clearly animal-like, others defy easy categorization, hinting at genetic manipulation, ancient magical forces, or even extraterrestrial influences. Legendary Pokemon, in particular, often have creation myths that speak of shaping the very fabric of the world, of controlling time and space, or of embodying fundamental forces of nature. Are these literal accounts or metaphorical explanations for beings whose power and existence are beyond human comprehension? The sheer diversity of Pokémon, from sentient plants to living rocks, from ghostly apparitions to beings of pure energy, suggests a universe far more diverse and less bound by conventional biology than our own. This opens up the possibility of life forms that exist in entirely different dimensions, or that are composed of matter and energy that we cannot yet perceive. The very notion of a Pokémon as a singular category becomes fluid, encompassing a vast spectrum of beings with wildly different origins and natures. Consider the unsettling implications of certain abilities, like the power to manipulate memories, or to possess human bodies, or to drain life force. While these are often presented as moves in battle, their very existence in the lore paints a picture of a world where psychic powers and supernatural phenomena are not just theoretical, but tangible realities. Ghost-type Pokémon, in particular, blur the lines between life and death, suggesting a spiritual dimension to the Pokémon world that is often left unexplored. Do the spirits of deceased Pokémon linger? Can they interact with the living? The existence of Pokémon that are explicitly stated to be the spirits of the dead, or that feed on negative emotions, raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness, the afterlife, and the unseen forces that govern this world. These are not merely fantastical creatures, but rather entities that challenge our understanding of reality, hinting at a universe where the veil between worlds is thin and where the echoes of the past can still reach out and touch the present. The ethical implications of using Pokemon in battles, a cornerstone of the entire franchise, also bear closer scrutiny. While often framed as a friendly competition, the reality of powerful creatures attacking each other with elemental forces, often to the point of fainting or injury, is a stark one. The notion of fainting as a euphemism for incapacitation or unconsciousness, rather than actual death, serves to soften the impact, but the underlying reality remains. Are these battles truly consensual, or are the Pokémon, bound by loyalty and training, compelled to participate? The emotional toll of constant battling, the pressure to perform, and the potential for injury or even permanent harm are rarely addressed in explicit terms, yet they are ever-present undercurrents in the world of Pokémon. The focus is always on the trainer's journey, their growth and aspirations, with the Pokémon often treated as tools or extensions of their will, rather than sentient beings with their own desires and freedoms. The very concept of a Pokémon Center, a ubiquitous healing facility, while seemingly benevolent, also highlights the constant need for medical intervention due to these battles. The implication is that Pokémon are regularly injured, sometimes severely, and require immediate and advanced medical care to recover. This normalization of injury and the immediate availability of healing subtly desensitizes us to the inherent risks and potential suffering involved in these competitive encounters. It's a convenient narrative device that allows the story to continue without dwelling on the darker consequences of Pokémon battles, but it also silently acknowledges the constant toll these battles take on the creatures involved. And what of the world itself, the environment in which these creatures live? While often depicted as idyllic and vibrant, there are also hints of environmental degradation, resource exploitation, and the impact of human activity on natural habitats. The presence of industrial zones, mining operations, and polluted areas suggests that even in this fantastical world, humanity's footprint is not always benign. The disappearance of certain Pokemon species or their rarity can be attributed not just to natural selection, but also to human encroachment and disruption of ecosystems. This quiet threat to biodiversity, while not always front and center, is a subtly unsettling undertone, suggesting that even a world filled with magic and wonder is not immune to the challenges of environmental stewardship. Even the Pokédex, that seemingly innocuous device that provides information on each Pokémon, can be a source of quiet disturbance. While often filled with charming facts, some entries describe behaviors or characteristics that are outright unsettling, even predatory. Pokemon that drain life force, that steal memories, that possess objects, or that are genuinely dangerous to humans are all cataloged with a detached scientific tone. This juxtaposition of scientific observation with potentially terrifying realities creates a subtle unease, reminding us that beneath the surface of cuteness and companionship, there lies a wild and untamed world where survival often comes at a cost and where not all encounters are friendly. The Pokédex, in its calm recitation of facts, inadvertently reveals the darker, more primal aspects of the Pokemon ecosystem, aspects that are often glossed over in the main narrative. Consider the human characters themselves, particularly the trainers. The single minded pursuit of becoming a Pokemon master, often at a very young age, raises questions about childhood, responsibility, and societal pressures. Children as young as 10 years old are sent out into the world to capture and train powerful creatures, to battle against other trainers, and to navigate complex social and environmental challenges, often with minimal adult supervision. While this is presented as a rite of passage, a journey of self discovery, it also carries the subtle implication of a society that places immense responsibility on its youth and perhaps even exploits their innocence and ambition for the sake of competition and glory. The constant emphasis on strength and victory can also subtly shape the values of these young trainers, potentially prioritizing power over empathy and competition over cooperation. The concept of Team Rocket and other such criminal organizations provides a clear antagonist, but their very existence highlights the darker side of human nature within this world. Their desire to exploit Pokemon for profit, to control them for nefarious purposes, and to disrupt the natural order serves as a stark reminder that even in a world of wonder, greed, and malice can thrive. Their consistent presence, despite repeated defeats, suggests a perpetual struggle between good and evil, a constant threat to the peaceful coexistence of humans and Pokemon. This ongoing conflict, often played out on a grand scale, underscores the fragility of peace and the constant vigilance required to protect both Pokemon and people from those who would seek to harm them. And finally, the very nature of the Pokéball itself, that iconic device used to capture and contain Pokemon, is a marvel of technology with subtly unsettling implications. The ability to shrink a living creature to a microscopic size, to store it in an artificial environment, and to summon it at will is a profound manipulation of biological reality. While presented as a humane way to travel with and care for Pokemon, the act of being stored within a ball raises questions about the Pokemon's experience during this time. Are they in a state of suspended animation? Are they aware of their surroundings? Do they feel confined or comfortable? The convenience of the Pokéball overshadows the potential implications of such a radical alteration of a living being's existence. It is a tool that allows for unprecedented control over nature, a technology so advanced that it borders on the magical, yet its impact on the consciousness and well-being of the Pokemon within remains a compelling, unanswered question, a quiet mystery at the heart of the entire Pokemon world. These quiet observations, these gentle ponderings, are not meant to disrupt the magic, but rather to deepen it. They invite a more thoughtful engagement with a world that, on its surface, is filled with light and joy, but beneath holds layers of complex questions and subtle intrigues. As these thoughts drift and coalesce like mist over a tranquil lake, they form a landscape of understanding, a serene space where the imagination can roam freely, leading gently towards the restful embrace of sleep. The journey through these deeper currents is a calming one, a soft unfolding of meaning, leaving behind a profound sense of wonder and a quiet peace, a perfect prelude to the deepest, most restorative sleep. And as we continue our gentle drift through these deeper waters, we encounter the curious case of abandoned structures, those silent, crumbling testaments to lives once lived, now reclaimed by nature and time. Throughout various regions, you'll find those forgotten places, the decrepit mansion on Route 14 in Kanto, its windows staring like vacant eyes at the passing trainers, the eerily quiet abyssal ruins beneath the ocean in Unova, hinting at a lost civilization, the old chateau in Sinnoh, whispered to be haunted by restless spirits. These aren't just scenic backdrops, they are potent symbols of impermanence, remnants of stories untold, of people who once inhabited these spaces, now vanished. What tragedies unfolded within their walls? What dreams were built and shattered here? The very existence of these ruins suggests a history far richer and more complex than the vibrant, bustling cities we typically explore. They speak of decline, of forgotten eras, and perhaps of events so catastrophic they erased entire communities from the map, leaving only these ghostly echoes behind. The Pokemon that inhabit these places, often of the ghost or psychic types, seem to be guardians of these secrets, their ethereal presence deepening the sense of mystery and melancholy. They are reminders that even in a world brimming with life, decay and oblivion are ever-present forces, quietly shaping the landscape and the lore. Then, there's the peculiar phenomenon of Pokemon being seemingly caught and then released or even traded without much consideration for their personal attachments or preferences. While the narrative often emphasizes the bond between a trainer and their Pokemon, the mechanics of the game allow for a fairly casual exchange of these sentient beings. A Pokemon might spend years with one trainer, form deep connections, and then, with a few button presses, find itself in the care of a complete stranger, perhaps even in a different region, far from its original home. Do they experience a sense of loss or disorientation? Are they capable of grieving the separation from a beloved trainer or fellow Pokemon? The ease with which these transfers occur stands in subtle contrast to the emotional depth often ascribed to Pokemon. It raises the quiet question of their autonomy, their desires, and whether the convenience of the trainer always outweighs the emotional well being of the Pokemon. This isn't to say that all trainers are uncaring, but the system itself allows for a degree of detachment that, upon reflection, feels a little unsettling. It's a quiet tension between the game's mechanics and its emotional core, a gentle whisper of the power dynamics at play. And as we continue our slow, tranquil exploration, we might consider the very ecosystem itself and the delicate balance that must surely exist, yet is often manipulated. The introduction of non native Pokemon through trade and travel, the constant battles that disrupt natural habitats, and the human construction that encroaches on wild spaces, all these factors must have profound effects on the environment. While the world generally appears lush and vibrant, the underlying pressures on its biodiversity must be immense. Are there unseen consequences to the widespread domestication of wild creatures? What happens when a rapidly multiplying species brought from another region outcompetes native populations? The world of Pokemon, for all its wonder, also presents itself as a testament to humanity's pervasive influence on nature, for better or for worse. The occasional appearance of environmental crises, such as the droughts in Hoenn caused by Kyogre and Groudon, or the pollution themes often associated with certain industrial areas, serve as gentle reminders that this idyllic world is not immune to ecological disruption. These moments, while often resolved through heroic efforts, highlight the fragility of the natural world and the constant need for stewardship, a quiet echo of our own world's environmental challenges. Let us then turn our gentle gaze towards the concept of evolution itself, a cornerstone of the Pokemon experience, yet one that holds some fascinating, almost existential implications. A Pokemon undergoes a radical physical transformation, often accompanied by changes in personality and abilities. But what about the continuity of consciousness? When a Caterpie evolves into a Metapod and then into a Butterfree, is it the same self experiencing these changes? Or is there a subtle shift, a new iteration of consciousness emerging with each stage? The process is depicted as natural and beneficial, a growth into a stronger form. Yet the sheer scale of the transformation, sometimes altering fundamental aspects of the Pokemon's being, invites a deeper contemplation of identity. Are memories fully retained? Is the essence of the original Pokemon perfectly preserved, or is there a gentle forgetting, a recalibration of self? This profound biological marvel, so central to the game, touches upon philosophical questions about personal identity and the nature of being over time. It suggests a fluid, ever changing existence where the self is not a static entity, but a continuous process of becoming, a truly wondrous and thought provoking aspect of this world. And as our thoughts drift softly, we might consider the peculiar relationship between certain legendary Pokemon and mythological narratives. Figures like Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina are presented not merely as powerful creatures, but as deities responsible for the very creation of the universe, time, space, and antimatter. This elevates the Pokemon world beyond a simple fantasy setting and imbues it with a profound, almost sacred cosmology. The idea that such immense power resides within living beings, capable of being encountered, and even in some interpretations captured by humans, is a truly staggering thought. It blurs the lines between divinity and the natural world, suggesting a universe where the divine is immanent, interwoven into the fabric of existence. The implications of these beings of having emotions, motivations, and even occasional conflicts, as seen in their lore, paints a picture of a pantheon that is both awe inspiring and deeply personal. It adds a layer of spiritual depth to the world, suggesting a grand narrative of creation and cosmic order that gently underpins all the adventures and battles. The existence of these legends shapes the very reality of the Pokemon world, giving it a sense of ancient history and a cosmic purpose that stretches far beyond the immediate concerns of trainers. Now let us gently ponder the quiet sadness that permeates some of the Pokemon themselves, particularly those whose lore speaks of loneliness, loss, or eternal sorrow. Consider Cubone, forever wearing the skull of its deceased mother, its cries said to be filled with grief. Or Mimikyu, who dons a ragged Pikachu disguise, longing for friendship and fearing rejection due to its true appearance. These aren't just cute creatures, they are characters imbued with deep, often tragic emotional backstories. Their existence reminds us that even in a world of vibrant wonder, suffering and longing are not absent. These Pokemon serve as poignant reminders of the universal experiences of loss, loneliness, and the desire for acceptance. Their stories resonate on a deeper, more empathetic level, inviting us to look beyond their battle stats and appreciate the emotional complexity of these fantastical beings. The quiet pathos of these Pokemon adds a layer of emotional realism to the world, showing that even the most fantastical creatures can experience profound human like emotions, touching our hearts with their gentle sorrows. And as we continue our tranquil journey through these deeper layers, we might reflect on the pervasive presence of scientific advancement within this world, often pushing ethical boundaries in subtle ways. From the creation of Mewtwo, a powerful genetically engineered Pokemon born from the DNA of the mythical Mew, to the resurrection of fossil Pokemon, humanity constantly tinkers with life itself. While often presented as marvels of progress, these acts raise quiet questions about humanity's role as creator and its responsibility towards the life it brings into existence. Mewtwo's tragic backstory, born of scientific hubris and burdened by its unnatural origin, serves as a poignant cautionary tale. The very act of reanimating extinct species, while fascinating, also hints at a power over life and death that borders on the divine, all within the confines of a laboratory. These scientific endeavors, while driving progress, often carry with them a subtle undercurrent of ethical ambiguity, a gentle whisper of the potential consequences of playing God. It's a quiet exploration of the delicate balance between scientific curiosity and moral responsibility, a theme that grounds the fantastical elements in a relatable human struggle. Let us then allow our minds to softly wander to the concept of the shiny Pokemon, those rare alternatively colored variants that appear so infrequently. While seemingly a simple aesthetic difference, their extreme rarity and the dedication trainers show to finding them speaks to a deeper human desire for uniqueness, for something truly special. The pursuit of a shiny Pokemon can be a long, arduous, and often solitary journey, a testament to patience and perseverance. It's a quiet metaphor for the pursuit of any rare and cherished goal in life, the thrill of discovery after countless attempts. But it also highlights a subtle societal value placed on superficial distinctions, The idea that something is more valuable simply because it is different or harder to obtain. It's a gentle reflection on our own tendencies to covet the unique, to seek out that which stands apart from the ordinary, adding another layer of quiet observation to the rich tapestry of this world. The gentle glimmer of a shiny Pokemon in the wild is more than just a color change. It's a moment of profound personal triumph, a testament to the quiet power of determination. And finally, as our peaceful exploration draws to a close and our minds prepare for the serene embrace of sleep, let us consider the cyclical nature of the Pokemon world itself. Generations come and go, new regions are discovered, and new Pokemon are encountered. Yet the fundamental journey of a young trainer setting out to collect badges and become a champion remains constant. This gentle repetition, this enduring cycle of adventure, speaks to a timeless quality, a comforting predictability in a world full of wonder. It suggests that even with all the underlying complexities, the darker theories, and the quiet mysteries, the core ethos of growth, friendship, and discovery endures. The world of Pokemon in its entirety is a vast, interconnected narrative, a beautiful tapestry woven with threads of light and shadow, joy and sorrow, wonder and quiet contemplation. Each element, from the grand legends to the smallest details, contributes to a rich and immersive experience that continues to captivate and inspire. As these thoughts gently recede, like the tide withdrawing from a peaceful shore, they leave behind a tranquil stillness, a sense of quiet understanding that soothes the mind and prepares it for the deepest, most restorative sleep. Let the lingering echoes of these ponderings guide you into a profound and peaceful slumber, where dreams may dance with the wonders of a world both familiar and endlessly mysterious. As the gentle currents of thought carry us further into the serene depths of this Pokemon world, we might consider the subtle, almost imperceptible nuances within its creature design. Beyond the obvious distinctions of type and appearance, there are countless details that whisper of hidden meanings, of origins both natural and perhaps less so. Take, for instance, it's the curious case of Pokemon that bear a striking resemblance to common, real-world objects. A magneton with its trio of magnets, or a Voltorb, undeniably reminiscent of a Pokéball. Are these mere coincidences, playful nods from the creators to the world outside the game, or do they hint at a more profound, even unsettling origin story for these particular species? The theory quietly suggests that some Pokemon might not have evolved organically in the same way as their more animal-like counterparts. Instead, they could be the result of human experimentation, accidental synthesis, or even the reanimation of inanimate objects through powerful yet poorly understood energy sources. Consider the Porygon line, clearly artificial constructs, products of human ingenuity and programming. This is an overt example, acknowledged within the lore itself. But what of the more subtle cases? A clay doll, resembling an ancient clay figure, or a Cofagrigus, a sentient sarcophagus. Are these merely imaginative designs, or do they imply that human artifacts, imbued with strong emotions or exposed to particular energies, can awaken, transforming into living, breathing Pokemon? This concept gently blurs the lines between life and non-life, between the natural and the artificial. It invites us to ponder the very definition of a Pokemon. If a discarded doll can become a Banette, driven by resentment, or a haunted sword can become a Honedge, Does this not suggest a permeable barrier between the world of objects and the world of living creatures? This idea, while perhaps unsettling to some, also offers a fascinating insight into the vast and unpredictable nature of the Pokemon universe. It posits that life, or at least a form of consciousness, can manifest in unexpected ways, arising from the residue of human emotion, ancient rituals, or advanced technology. And then there are the Pokemon whose abilities seem to defy the very laws of physics as we understand them. Alakazam's intellect, said to surpass a supercomputer, or the legendary Pokemon capable of warping space and time itself. While these are often attributed to their inherent legendary status or psychic powers, their existence challenges the conventional boundaries of what is possible. It hints at a universe where scientific understanding is still in its infancy, where mystical energies and ancient powers hold sway over the natural order. This isn't necessarily a sinister thought, but rather a humbling one, suggesting that humanity, despite its advancements, is still grappling with the fundamental forces that govern its world. Moving deeper into the calmer currents of contemplation, let us turn our attention to the concept of Pokemon as tools or weapons. While the games emphasize partnership and friendship, the act of battling itself, of commanding creatures to fight for sport or strategy, carries a subtle undertone. The existence of organizations like Team Rocket, who explicitly exploit Pokemon for nefarious purposes, serves as a stark reminder of this potential. But even within the framework of legitimate trainers, the idea of training a Pokemon involves shaping its abilities, honing its power, and ultimately directing its actions towards a desired outcome. This raises a quiet philosophical question. Are Pokemon truly free agents, or are they to some extent beholden to their trainers? The bond is often portrayed as mutual, a partnership built on trust and respect. Yet the power dynamic is undeniable. A trainer dictates battles, chooses moves, and ultimately decides the Pokemon's path. This isn't to say that all trainers are exploitative, far from it, but it does invite a gentle introspection into the ethics of capturing and utilizing these powerful creatures. Is it always for their own good, or is there an inherent self-interest in the trainer's desire for strength and victory? The concept of the Pokéball itself, a device capable of instantly shrinking and containing a creature, is a marvel of technology. Yet its fundamental nature is also a form of control. While portrayed as comfortable and safe for the Pokemon inside, the mechanism of capture, the swift encapsulation, speaks to a remarkable power over nature. This quiet contemplation isn't meant to diminish the joy of training or the strength of the bonds formed, but rather to acknowledge the complex ethical landscape that subtly underpins the Pokemon world. It's a gentle invitation to consider the deeper implications of our interactions with other living beings, even in a fantastical setting. As we lull into deeper considerations, let's explore the pervasive presence of ancient civilizations and forgotten lore throughout the Pokemon world. Ruins scattered across regions, cryptic tablets, and legends passed down through generations all point to a rich, often turbulent history that predates current human understanding. The unknown, with their symbolic forms resembling an alphabet, whisper of an ancient language, and perhaps an ancient civilization that communicated through these mysterious beings. The myths surrounding legendary Pokemon often describe their involvement in the creation of the world, the shaping of continents, or the control of natural forces. These ancient narratives suggest a world where humanity was perhaps less dominant, where the power of Pokemon was more overtly influential, and where the lines between myth and reality were far more blurred. The forgotten technologies, the lost knowledge of how to harness certain powers, or the reasons behind the downfall of these civilizations remain tantalizingly out of reach. This creates a sense of profound mystery, a quiet acknowledgement that the present reality is but a thin layer over a much deeper, more complex past. It invites us to consider what secrets lie buried beneath the surface, what truths have been forgotten, and what ancient powers might still slumber, waiting to be reawakened. The very landscape of the Pokemon world often bears the scars of these ancient events. Mountains sculpted by legendary battles, forests imbued with mystical energies, or caves hiding remnants of forgotten rituals. This deep geological history, interwoven with powerful Pokemon, suggests a world that is constantly evolving, shaped not just by natural forces, but by the extraordinary capabilities of its inhabitants. It's a quiet reminder that even in a seemingly stable present, the echoes of the past resonate, influencing the present and hinting at future possibilities. This profound sense of history adds a rich, almost spiritual dimension to the world, suggesting that every rock, every tree, every body of water holds a story, a memory of times long past. Now let us turn our minds to the curious phenomenon of Pokemon cries and their interpretation. While often presented as distinct voices for each species, their often abstract, electronic sounding nature, particularly in the earlier generations, has led to quiet speculation. Are these truly the natural vocalizations of these creatures, or are they in some way mediated, translated, or even synthesized for human comprehension? The idea that we, as humans, might not be hearing their true, unadulterated voices, but rather a representation, adds another layer of subtle alienation. This theory gently suggests a communication barrier, a fundamental difference in perception between humans and Pokemon that is papered over by technology or a convenient narrative. If we are only hearing an approximation of their cries, what then are their true voices like? And what implications does this have for understanding their emotions, their thoughts, their very being? It's a quiet reflection on the limits of our perception and the ways in which we interpret the world around us, even in a world where interspecies communication seems commonplace. This subtle detachment from their true nature could be seen as a metaphor for our own struggles to truly understand other species, even those we live alongside. And finally, as our peaceful journey through these contemplative thoughts gently winds down, let us consider the concept of parallel dimensions and alternative realities within the Pokemon universe. The existence of Ultra Beasts, creatures from other dimensions, and the occasional glimpses into alternate timelines or universes suggests a multiverse far grander and more complex than initially apparent. This isn't just a single world, but a nexus of countless possibilities, each with its own unique history, its own set of Pokemon, and its own version of events. This idea profoundly expands the scope of the Pokemon world, transforming it from a singular narrative into an infinite tapestry of interconnected realities. It suggests that every choice made, every path taken, every lost trainer, or every uncaptured Pokemon might exist in some parallel dimension. This concept, while vast, can also be deeply comforting. It implies a boundless potential, an endless array of stories waiting to be told, and a universe that is far more expansive and mysterious than we could ever fully comprehend. It's a gentle reminder of the infinite possibilities that exist, both within the realms of fiction and perhaps in the quiet depths of our own waking world. As these final thoughts drift into the serene stillness of your mind, let them carry you deeper into a peaceful slumber. The world of Pokemon, in its limitless wonder and quiet complexities, has offered a gentle guiding light through the twilight of our consciousness. May your dreams be filled with the quiet joy of discovery, the tranquil companionship of magnificent creatures, and the profound, restful peace that only the truly deep sleep can bring. Let the echoes of these ponderings gently fade, leaving behind a tranquil blankness, a perfect canvas for the dreams that await you. The very fabric of time within the Pokemon world, too, presents an intriguing and often overlooked complexity. While we experience time as a linear progression, the influence of legendary Pokemon like Dialga, the master of time itself, implies a far more malleable and perhaps even cyclical nature to its flow. Imagine a world where moments can be rewound, fast forwarded, or even paused, not just theoretically, but through the direct intervention of a cosmic entity. This isn't merely a plot device for a particular game. It fundamentally alters the understanding of cause and effect within the universe. If time can be manipulated, then history itself becomes less of a fixed record and more of a fluid narrative, subject to change at the whim of a powerful being. What implications does this hold for the concept of free will or the unchangeable nature of destiny? If past events can be altered, do the present and future truly hold any certainty? It's a question that gently touches upon philosophical debates that have puzzled thinkers for centuries, now viewed through the charming lens of Pokemon lore. Consider the potential paradoxes that could arise from such temporal manipulation. If a trainer were to travel back in time and prevent a significant event, would their own existence reliant on that event having occurred simply cease to be? Or would a new parallel timeline splinter off, creating yet another branch in the infinite tapestry of the multiverse? The games often present a simplified version of these concepts, focusing on the immediate narrative impact. But when we delve deeper, the implications are vast and subtly unsettling. The very notion of historical accuracy becomes dubious when a living legend holds the reins of time. This introduces a quiet uncertainty into every legend, every ancient text, every recorded event within the Pokemon world. How many historical truths are merely the currently accepted version, influenced, or even established by a temporal Pokemon? It's a gentle reminder that even the most fundamental aspects of reality, like the passage of time, can be subject to cosmic forces beyond human comprehension. And what of the origins of Pokemon themselves, beyond the well-known evolutionary processes? The legends speak of Arceus, the alpha Pokemon, said to have created the Sinnoh region, and perhaps even the entire Pokemon universe itself. This creation myth, while seemingly straightforward, carries profound implications. If a single entity is responsible for the existence of all life, all matter, then does that imply a grand design, a predetermined path for every creature and every trainer? Or is Arceus a more distant, hands-off creator, allowing its creations to forge their own destinies? The existence of a god Pokemon raises questions about sentience, purpose, and the very meaning of life within this vibrant world. It elevates the Pokemon universe from a simple adventure story to one with deep existential undertones. The Pokédex entries, often charming and whimsical, occasionally hint at darker, more unsettling truths about the Pokemon world. Take, for instance, the ghost type Pokemon. Many of these entries describe Pokemon that are literally the spirits of deceased humans, or Pokemon, or creatures formed from negative emotions and sorrow. Banette, for example, is said to be a discarded doll that came to life filled with resentment. Phantump are described as the spirits of children lost in the forest. These aren't merely fantastical creatures, they are poignant reminders of tragedy, loss, and the lingering echoes of human and Pokemon suffering. This layer of melancholy adds a surprising depth to the otherwise cheerful world, quietly acknowledging the presence of sorrow and death, even in a world brimming with life. The concept of Pokemon battles, central to the games, also carries a hidden weight. While presented as friendly competitions, the underlying reality is one of creatures being commanded to fight, often to the point of exhaustion or unconsciousness. While the games reassure us that Pokemon enjoy battling and are not truly harmed, a deeper contemplation reveals a potential ethical dilemma. Are trainers truly partners, or are they masters exploiting powerful beings for their own glory and ambition? The line between companionship and control can sometimes blur, especially when the power dynamic is so clearly skewed. This isn't to say that all trainers are malicious, but rather to gently highlight the inherent power imbalance and the potential for its misuse, even within a system designed for mutual benefit. Consider the phenomenon of mega evolution, a temporary power up that transforms certain Pokemon into more formidable versions of themselves. While visually spectacular, the lore behind it suggests a deeper, more profound connection between trainer and Pokemon, fueled by an intense bond. However, some Pokédex entries for Mega Evolved Pokemon hint at a loss of control, a surge of overwhelming power that can be painful or even consuming for the Pokemon. Mega Gyarados, for instance, is described as being consumed by its destructive instincts, its rage knowing no bounds. Mega Absol is said to be in constant agony due to its overcharged senses. This suggests that even seemingly beneficial advancements come with a cost, a subtle reminder that power, even when shared through a bond of friendship, can be a double-edged sword. It's a quiet whisper that even the most beautiful transformations can mask an inner struggle. The history of wars and conflicts within the Pokemon world, often alluded to in passing by non-player characters or ancient texts, also adds a layer of quiet solemnity. The story of Kalos, for example, speaks of a devastating war 3,000 years ago, and a weapon designed to end it, powered by the life force of Pokemon. This isn't just a backdrop for a story, it's a stark reminder that even in a world filled with wonder, humanity's darker impulses can lead to immense suffering for both humans and Pokemon. Thus, historical echoes suggest a past filled with turmoil, a quiet counterpoint to the peaceful present, implying that the current harmony might be a hard-won peace, always susceptible to being disturbed. It suggests that even the most benevolent societies carry the scars of past conflicts. And then there's the enigmatic presence of legendary and mythical Pokemon, beings of immense power and often cosmic significance. Their rarity, their unique abilities, and their profound influence on the world suggest a hidden order, a grand design managed by these powerful entities. They are not merely strong Pokemon, they are guardians, creators, and sometimes even destroyers, shaping the very landscape and destiny of the world. The interactions between these legendary Pokemon often mirror epic tales of gods and titans, hinting at a hidden mythology far grander than the everyday adventures of trainers. This presence of such powerful, almost divine beings imbues the world with a sense of awe and wonder, but also a quiet understanding of humanity's small place within a much larger, more ancient cosmic drama. The concept of lost Pokemon, or species that are now extinct, also resonates with a subtle melancholy. While some can be revived from fossils, others, like the mysterious Missing No, exist only as glitches or whispers of what might have been. This acknowledges the natural cycle of life and death, even for entire species within the Pokemon world. It's a gentle reminder of the impermanence of even the most powerful creatures and the quiet march of time that inevitably leads to change and loss. The fossil Pokemon, brought back to life, are living relics, walking reminders of eons past, giving us a tangible connection to a deep prehistory that is often overlooked in the rush of adventure. Finally, let us gently drift into the quiet contemplation of the human Pokemon relationship itself. While often portrayed as idyllic, a deep connection based on mutual respect and affection, there are subtle undercurrents that suggest a more complex dynamic. The very act of catching a Pokemon, of confining it to a Pokéball, regardless of its comfort, implies a degree of control and ownership that can be quietly unsettling. While the narrative assures us of the Pokemon's willing participation, the underlying mechanic of restraint and command cannot be entirely ignored. This isn't to cast a shadow on the beautiful bonds formed, but rather to gently acknowledge the power structures at play and the implicit trust that Pokemon place in their human companions. It's a subtle dance between freedom and guidance, a quiet reflection on the nature of companionship when one party holds the power to contain the other. As these gentle currents of thought continue to flow, let us consider the concept of Pokemon as a living ecosystem, a complex web of interactions where every creature plays a vital role. The balance of nature, often disrupted by human intervention, is a recurring theme, subtly highlighting the environmental impact of our actions. The existence of Pokemon like Garbodor, formed from trash or muck, a living sludge, are not just interesting designs. They are quiet commentaries on pollution and the consequences of neglecting our environment. These creatures, while often seen as nuisances, are also poignant reminders of human wastefulness, existing as a physical manifestation of our impact on the world. They're living, breathing environmental warnings, gently nudging us to consider our footprint. The quiet solitude of certain legendary Pokemon, often found in remote, untouched locations, speaks to a need for isolation and preservation. These sacred spaces, often protected by ancient traditions or natural barriers, are a testament to the importance of untouched wilderness, places where the natural order can thrive undisturbed. The act of encountering these legendary Pokemon often involves a journey, a pilgrimage to these secluded sanctuaries, reinforcing the idea that some things are meant to be revered and protected, not merely conquered. It's a gentle whisper about the preciousness of untouched nature and the wisdom of respecting boundaries. And then there are the subtle hints of ancient civilizations and forgotten technologies, far more advanced than anything seen in the present day. The ruins scattered across various regions, the strange artifacts, and the occasional mention of powerful, long lost devices suggest a past where humanity and Pokemon might have interacted in fundamentally different ways, perhaps even coexisted with a deeper understanding of cosmic forces. This introduces a fascinating layer of archaeological mystery, suggesting that the current understanding of the Pokemon world is but a small chapter in a much grander ancient history. It's a quiet invitation to imagine a past filled with wonders and knowledge that are now lost to time. Consider the concept of shiny Pokemon, those rare, differently colored variants that trainers eagerly seek. While seemingly a cosmetic difference, their extreme rarity hints at a deeper genetic anomaly, a subtle deviation from the norm that makes them both unique and highly prized. This mirrors the concept of genetic diversity in our own world, where small variations can lead to remarkable differences. The quiet thrill of encountering a shiny Pokemon is a celebration of individuality, a recognition of the beauty and rarity and the unexpected. It's a gentle reminder that even within a species, each individual is special and holds its own unique value. The very structure of the Pokemon League, a system of challenging gyms and ultimately facing an Elite Four and champion, also subtly mirrors real world structures of competition and hierarchy. While presented as a path to becoming a recognized trainer, it also reflects societal pressures to achieve, to prove oneself, and to climb the ladder of success. This isn't inherently negative, but it does add a layer of human ambition and societal expectation to the adventures of a young trainer. It's a quiet observation on how, even in a world of wonder, human aspirations shape the journey. Finally, as these gentle thoughts begin to dissolve into the serene quietude of your mind, let us embrace the ultimate comfort of the Pokemon world, its enduring sense of hope and connection. Despite the subtle complexities and deeper questions we've explored, the overarching message remains one of friendship, perseverance, and the boundless potential for growth, both for humans and Pokemon. The bonds forged, the challenges overcome, and the discoveries made all contribute to a narrative that is ultimately uplifting. It's a world where even the most profound mysteries and subtle, unsettling ideas are ultimately embraced by a spirit of adventure and connection. Let this gentle, all encompassing sense of quiet wonder carry you effortlessly into the soft embrace of a dream filled sleep. The world of Pokemon, in its infinite layers of charm and gentle profundity, has completed its soothing lullaby, guiding you to a perfect, peaceful rest. May your slumber be as deep and tranquil as the quietest forest, and your dreams as vivid and heartwarming as the most cherished memory.